Sir.
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have the prayer and the pledge by Councilman David Broussard.
The Lord's Prayer. Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas.
Present.
Councilmember Brooke Marcotte. Here. Councilmember Marlon Lewis.
Here.
Councilmember David Broussard.
Here.
Councilmember Deidre Ledbetter. Here. Councilmember DeeDee Johnson-Reed. Here. Councilmember Dustin Swear.
Here.
Thank you. Item 1, public comment.
Benjamin Myers to speak on agenda item 7A.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, folks. Listen, I understand we're supposed to be discussing this CLECO contract arrangement here tonight. I'm in opposed of it. I think that we shouldn't be discussing this at all now. We 2 years out from the sunset of this contract. CLECO has offered us what I would literally classify as a bribe to say, make this happen sooner. Now, we don't want to tie ourselves into this terms of contract, especially with the way the pay scales are. We're talking about this tier level thing that we would be faced with for the next 25 years. All right, that's really like enslaving us to CLECO and whoever else might buy it next, you know, for 25 years. And if you do this for a 25-year period of time, which I think is extensive, it's really long, I think it shouldn't be done for no more than 10. All right, that way we don't find ourselves in a dilemma where we find ourselves now. Allow CLECO or the new CLECO owners to sell to somebody else, and we caught in the middle of this from extending it too long a period of time. All right, because again, this thing about inflation, well, it's inflation everywhere, but CLECO is the inflation. Mr. Willie Bergeron came up here and spoke to us and talked about the infrastructure, that we don't own it. Yes, we do. I have available, if anybody want to see it, a copy of the contract that we had initially with CLECO. All right, and this contract says that we are leasing our franchise rights to CLECO. All right, and if you go down to the section 2 of this, section 1 of that CLECO contract, the one that we signed in 2000, you're going to find that we have poles listed as part of our infrastructure, as well as wires and things of that nature. All right, CLECO is hired to come in and maintain and operate our system. All right, they classify, quote unquote, as their system. If you look on the last page of that contract, page number 4 of the one that signed in 2000, CLECO stuck in this little clause about them, if they wanted to sell, giving the city first choice, that type of thing. All right, that's a way they claim it inside of that, quote unquote, their system. That word system is being used in place of the word that we would use to classify what's our infrastructure. All right, just a little sleight of words there. Again, you know, he's trying to get us to commit to this because the faster they close this deal, we are committed to that. We can't do this deal now. All right, it would be unwise, simply unwise to do this deal now. We'll be tied in, we'll tie ourselves in with no way out. And then we don't know for certain, you understand, who, for some of us opinion, owns the infrastructure. All right, so we can't negotiate unless we know what position we're negotiating from. All right, if we were negotiating from a position where we own the infrastructure, that makes a lot of difference to what we can enter. Also, I don't see anything in the proposed amended part of this petition that CLECO, a contract that CLECO has. I don't see anything stipulating what rates we would like to have. You know, because even though those rates are set by the Public Service Commission, allow them to get that much, they don't necessarily have to be that high, you know, when it comes down to negotiation, when it comes down to serving our market, which is the largest market that CLECO has in the state. Now, when it comes to monopolizing, well, of course, this is where Mr. Willie Bergeron again told a story about, okay, we own the wires and the poles. One of the young ladies asked about the infrastructure. Well, he knew exactly what we were talking about, but he's trying to classify it as part of their system, which is not the case. All right, these agreements, these arrangements that we're talking about, that's lease. All right, these are lease. All right. Now, I heard you, Mr. Gonzalez, say something about the infrastructure for the other places like Intex, Entergy and the water company. Well, these things are below the ground, all right? These things are below the ground, and it would be wise of us to continue to let them on that part of the property, all right? But those things above the ground, like the dealer with Clico, we know there would be damage to this. We knew this way back when Alan Day was there. It was going to be damage to, when storms come. We got poles damaged and wires coming down, trees falling, things of that nature. This is why, at that time, it was injected into the contract that we have this infrastructure restoration, all right? This is the money that we're using, they're using, to purchase these things on our behalf for that infrastructure restoration money, to purchase these things to replace all the damaged things that we need to, all those things that deteriorated. This is what we're doing. Now, we don't want to put the cart before the horse. We got a lot of time, and I think, and actually, you guys, what's the rush? What is the rush? We got till 2025. The only person that is favored by rushing into this right now would be Clico. The only people that it enslaves is the citizens and all these residents who get a Clico bill. All right? Now, I don't think that's what your intentions would want it to be. None of this council, And again, I look at this offer by Clico, this $1.5 million. I look at it literally what it is. It's a public bribe, We're not going to stoop to that level, and we're not going to put our people, our citizens, in that position. I'm hoping that we won't. All right? So we need to pull back on this, see where we stand when it comes down to our infrastructure. Then we can go into negotiations from the position that we stand at that particular time. I wish and pray that all of you all will consider this, all right? And please, I heard you always telling Mr. Willie, we don't want to kill a messenger. Well, I hope y'all not trying to kill a messenger tonight either,
That's funny.
Really, because Mr. Willie, to me, is, he's not just a messenger. You guys, Mr. Willie, is Clico. This man has been there 30 years, all right? So don't get it twisted. Please, for our sake, for the citizens' sake, let's pull back on this to see where our position is. Then we go forward with negotiations, where we can inject some things, like, for an example, our residential rates that we would thought it would be too high at 10 cents. Well, maybe we can, inside of those contracts that we sign with them, and have them agree to, okay, we'll give you a 6 cent per kilowatt hour instead of this 9 cent, 8 cent that they're trying to get now. All right? And this 1.5 million, to be honest with you guys, with 10 cents per kilowatt hour, that will be taken right back from us in a year and a half with just the bill that's coming from City Hall. All right, so please, that's nothing. Again, I hope that you guys consider pulling back on this and allow us time to find out the detail when it comes down to our infrastructure, so we can know from what position we are negotiating, and we'll take it from there. And again, please, none of you all, I hope none of you all ever consider a 25-year contract. Don't do that to us. Don't enslave us, and don't put us in a position where we can be used as a pawn when it comes down to them negotiating the sale. Because the Australians bought it this time. The Australians, if we go for 25 years, when it get to 10 years, the Australians are going to be trying to sell it to the Chinese. All right? And trust me, we know what's happening as far as that goes. So let's look at it literally for what it is. Again, thanks for your time, and I hope that you all consider everything I've said here before you make a decision that brings home to all of us residents in New Iberia. Thanks again, y'all.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. Item 2A.
Acceptance of the corrected minutes of November 1st, 2022, which will publish on December 28th, 2022.
Do you have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas and a second by Councilwoman Brooke Marcotte. Any discussion of our minutes?
Yeah, man,
Previous.
just,
Yes, sir.
because I don't remember that far back, what are we correct?
No, we're not correcting, just, are there any comments on it?
Oh, accepted of corrected minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes were corrected from November 1st.
That's the error Laney made.
And just was trying to figure out what the error was.
Okay. I don't think there was an error. We added
I
something.
think some things got left out.
Yes.
Some resolutions got left out.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah, the teen court resolution, I think.
I mean, I know it's normally not a
Yeah.
big deal, just.
No, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, and I don't think anything was changed that was approved.
No.
It was some things that should have been approved that didn't make the list.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure. Any further discussion? Then I'd ask you to vote your machines. Thank you. All right, 2B.
Acceptance of the minutes of December 6th, 2022, which will publish on December 30th, 2022.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion
Second.
by Councilman Marlon Lewis and a second by, give it to Councilman David Broussard. Is there any discussion on these minutes from December 6th? Hearing, seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank you. Madam Clerk, 3A.
Special ordinance number 2022-2023-05, amendment number 4, an ordinance amending the budget to roll over prior year unused appropriated funds for City Hall air handler and chiller.
Do I have a motion to open our public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed, and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I need a motion to close our public hearing.
Motion.
I heard people, but I don't know, I think Councilman David Broussard, and who was the second?
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Brooke Markcott, thank you. 3B.
Special ordinance number 2022-2023-06, amendment number 5, an ordinance amending the budget to appropriate funds collected and reclass city funds appropriated for James Lee Burke statue.
Do I have a motion to open this public hearing?
Move.
Motion.
Councilman Dustin Swear, and the second by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed. Is there any discussion on this item? Any comment? Seeing no public comment, I need a motion to close.
So move. Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas and Councilman Dustin Swear. Thank y'all. All right. 4A.
Special ordinance number 2022-2023-05, amendment number 4, an ordinance amending the budget to roll over prior year unused appropriated funds for City Hall air handler and chiller.
Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed and a second by Councilman David Broussard. Is there any discussion on this item?
So this work wasn't done last year?
Correct.
Last fiscal year?
It didn't come in. We didn't have the equipment, so now we do, and we're moving on.
Okay.
So we just rolling those funds over from last year's budget. Any other discussion? Then I'd ask you to please vote your machine. Thank you. 4B.
Special ordinance number 2022-2023-06, amendment number 5, an ordinance amending the budget to appropriate funds collected and reclass city funds appropriated for James Lee Burke statue.
Do I have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Dustin Swear and a second by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed. Is there any discussion on this item?
So the $25,000 was the money they raised?
They raised about half the money, yes, and then we put some money in our budget. So it's a combination of both. The statue's like $40-something thousand. In our, this year's budget, we put $25,000, but we're only giving them 20, and they put up the rest, which brings it to like 50-something thousand. We retained the other 5 because Public Works is gonna pour the foundation and set the sculpture.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
So, well, I do have one more question.
Sure.
So this statue is something that we're gonna own, that we're
Yes.
gonna have to maintain moving forward?
Well, it's made out of bronze, and
Okay.
it's concrete based, so I don't think, it's kind of like the Liberty Bell. I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think we will have any reoccurring cost with it.
Okay.
You know, so many tourists come to Victor's across the street from all of his books and come to downtown, and the literary festival that happens every year. I mean, it is a draw.
Yeah.
So I don't mind the investment because it does help shore up some of our, you know, tourist attraction type efforts. On the flip side, I thought of that too because I don't want a bunch of maintenance, but like I said, it's made out of bronze and it's on a piece of concrete, so I don't feel like it's gonna be something we're gonna have to do anything with.
Okay.
Anybody else? Then I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. All right, moving on to 5A.
Ordinance number 2022-33, an emergency ordinance allowing temporary placement of mobile homes, recreational vehicles, or other temporary housing located directly adjacent to or near an applicant's damaged dwelling in areas affected by the tornado of December 14th, 2022.
I need a motion to introduce this.
Motion.
Second.
A motion by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed and a second. Who was second?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Councilwoman Brooke Markcott. So now we need some discussion. And this is something that we're doing a little differently. You remember we had an ordinance, we talked long and hard about it for quite a few meetings, of allowing like a FEMA trailer to come in, and we said we take it a case-by-case basis. That was if it was declared by the president, is the way that's written. We never thought that we would have a disaster that affected our community that wouldn't be a FEMA-approved disaster. The issue comes in is that we're not going to reach, I mean, I met with the governor last week, we're not going to reach the $8.5 million threshold for FEMA or the federal government to kick in. So we have nothing to offer our people money-wise from FEMA. So we can't do it. Also, we would need to amend that to say gubernatorial, whatever, because, you know, this is a case, I never thought this would happen, but this is a case where the governor declared our state a disaster, but the feds aren't. So the way our ordinance is written, even after all the work we put into it and everything, you know, we thought it would always be so bad that it would be something from the federal government. So I talked to Jeff. I have been very involved with the tornado from the beginning, and when you go there, it hit some of our poor areas. We have probably 8 trailers destroyed, and I talked to most of those people, and they don't have insurance. We have an apartment complex destroyed. They don't have insurance. We have, you know, citizens that have a need. The governor has offered some trailers, and that's a possibility. I have the guy, I didn't want to do anything until I brought it to y'all, and we had a discussion like we do everything. But there is a chance that, you know, if everybody hasn't snatched them up already, because we had 15 tornadoes in the state of Louisiana that same Wednesday. It's a record of the most tornadoes, and ours is the biggest they've ever recorded. It was almost an E3. It was right in the line between an E2 and E3. So that's why this is here. This is an emergency ordinance that not only will we have a discussion on, we would adopt, if you choose to do that, we would adopt it or reject it tonight. And then if it is adopted, I got the guy with the state FEMA office to call in the morning. But it is a possibility to offer. We have 23 families. Like I said, we've been very involved, and your efforts of raising supplies and those kind of things, we're going to give those out on Thursday. Hillary has the phone number of every family, of all 23 families. So like I said, we end this up to the hilt. But so there's 23 displaced families. They don't all need a trailer, but there will be some that are interested. I've had a couple of them ask me about it already. So that's kind of the background of why we're here. But let's have a discussion.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
I mean,
Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed.
okay, so this amendment, I guess, because we had something in here, and then now we have this, so this is the new one, we
Yeah,
could
I'll
ignore
turn
the
that
other
over
one.
to Jeff, because
Yeah.
the other one wouldn't work.
Yeah, what originally was put together was an amendment to the ordinance, but we can't act fast enough to amend the ordinance.
Right.
And an emergency ordinance is only good for 30 days. I mean, we have it in the charter, it's something we haven't used in 6 years. But we do have it in the charter, if it's necessary for the immediate preservation of health and safety, we can act and introduce and vote at the same meeting. But it's only good for 30 days, and it can be extended for 30 days. So I think what we ought to do is we ought to pass this, which gives us the flexibility, and then at the next meeting, we can figure out how to change our permanent ordinance to be more flexible. But this is kind of just the first aid right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of a Band-Aid.
So,
And you see, I know I'm interrupting, but the Red Cross only gave people $500. They don't do vouchers like they did before. So what's happening is, you know, I'm getting calls that I'm out of money to stay at a hotel.
right,
So that, you know, was another thing that drove this, that if we are going to try to help, we either move quickly and help or we don't help. But we're going to run out of time, you know, or they're going to run out of time. Anyway. Yes, ma'am, you had the floor, I'm sorry.
yeah, so I was trying to kind of scan it before the meeting started, but Jeff just mentioned that the charter says that we can only put it in, I guess it's only valid for 30 days, and then it could be extended for an additional 30 days.
Correct.
But, so, at that point, I'm assuming that our other ordinance would kick in, because clearly, some
You
people will
already
not
have-
be able
You
to,
already have it set on the, what agenda?
January 3rd.
Yeah, we already kind of realized that, so we have it coming back in January.
okay, because,
And it takes 2 meetings, but that would work. That would give us this 30 days if we had to do an extension, and then we'd have a workable,
So this
Okay.
is the temporary fix, and that's the
Right.
yeah,
permanent
this
fix.
is a
yeah.
Band-Aid.
I just want to make sure, because clearly 60 days is not enough for these people to get their lives back
Yeah.
on track. Okay, I just wanted to make sure the other one was going to
Yes,
kick
ma'am.
in before this one expired.
Yes, well, Laney was on the ball on
That's the
that.
plan.
Okay,
That's the plan.
okay.
Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
I think that's the minimum that that we can do from a government standpoint is, allow them to hook up adjacent to their homes and let them inquire about trailers with the state if possible. That's just city government doing what it can do, to help out our citizens. I think we can move forward with this and then provide a permanent solution later for another disaster down the road.
Yeah, because if you pass this, I call Mr. Casey Tingle in the morning that the governor's office hooked me up with. In some instances, because people had this in place, they actually had trailers in communities on Thursday. The tornado was on Wednesday. So anyway, but that would be the next step. And to speed that up, we'll see all those families on Thursday. But I didn't want to wait, so I would have Hillary call all of them tomorrow to see of the 23 families who thought they
And
would
if they
want to
have
take
viable-
part in this.
And if they had a viable location.
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
not
because if
providing
you.
locations.
No, we're not. This would go on their property.
So, quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things we talked about prior to this meeting was the fact that they would need a permit in order to put this here. Here, once again, now we have a bunch of citizens that we know really can't afford to pay, could have waived that fee. I'm sorry, I had to put that back in there, but,
Yes, ma'am.
so are they gonna be required to go and get a permit to get these trailers or these mobile homes, RVs in their yards?
That's a good question. I've been thinking about that. I think with the last ordinance that we have in place, we left it up to, I think, me as a case-by-case basis, if I remember. Is that right, Jeff?
Yeah, and let's see.
So we do have to talk about that because it's kind of applicable, but it's not the same ordinance,
Right, but it's, once again, it's.
Problem.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Because
know.
we were saying that they would have to, and that's why I wanted them to be able to waive the fee.
And I'm not positive. The governor told me they deliver the trailers and set them up, but I don't know how far that goes. That doesn't mean they're hooking up any utilities to them. I didn't ask because we weren't ready to ask yet. We weren't there yet. But
Okay.
Yeah, I think this allows the mayor, on the temporary basis, to do more than he could with the other ordinance. I think this is more flexible.
Okay.
So I think the mayor's got the authority.
good.
What are you gonna do?
You
Just to
can
put him on the
keep
spot?
I'm gonna do my job. I'm gonna take it on a case-by-case basis, and I'm gonna review each one.
Each
And
trailer that needs to be,
yeah, if there's gonna
For
be
the 23 people?
Yeah, if there's 23 trailers, I'm gonna do my job. It tells me to take them at a case-by-case basis, and that's what I'm gonna do. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna waive the permit fee, but I'm gonna do my job, one at a time.
well, the only part I was listening for is to waive the permit fee.
ma'am.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
I'm not waiving the inspections because I
waiving the
cannot.
I
put
didn't say
somebody-
inspection, I said
know,
permit
I know.
fee.
I can't put somebody in danger.
Not
And I
asking,
don't know how many. Like I said, one step at a time.
I just want to know that we could do that.
Yes,
That's all.
ma'am. Look, I pushed for this. I went over there. I was in those trailers when they were upside down looking for people. I saw firsthand who was affected. Watched our police, our fire department, our public works, everybody, the sheriff's department. I mean, you want to see some team efforts, you go out there and see something like that. But I've met most of those people. Like I said, they don't know it, but I've been in their trailers. If I'm going to help somebody and find a way to make it work, that's the place to do it. So we'll make it work.
Good. That's all I'm asking.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why this whole
Yes,
thing
ma'am.
came
But like
up.
I said, I'm going to take them a case-by-case basis because I'm going to do exactly what it says.
Although you just said that they all had the same situation, no insurance, but all right, whatever.
I'm doing my job. Yes, sir.
I mean, I'll just comment and say, on this point, any man, woman, or child born in this world should always, when preparing and making preparations, we should always plan for the worst case scenario, regardless to what we think, because you just never know. You never know. Old people used to say, if the good Lord said the same, and they meant that because they knew anything could happen.
That's right.
So we have to always, when we make decisions for the public, think about as if it's going to happen. So, and we're here now. It was funny that we just discussed trailers, mobile homes, and temporary mobile homes, and here we are.
I was thinking what foresight we had,
Yeah, so we have no foresight.
2 months ago.
But we have to operate as if we do, for the betterment of the community
That's it.
and the safety of the community.
Yes, sir.
I was at the
Yes, sir.
4 lane by the Chevron. You tried to get out the door, you couldn't get out the door, it was sucking it in so hard. And finally, we opened the door, and I got in the vehicle, and I'd be darned if I didn't turn left in the parking lot. There was a double, I think they were combining. It was that thing was going over Jefferson Terrace. And it was coming, I didn't know if it was coming over me, coming to me or where it was going, but boy, I took off. And look, it was something to see.
Yeah.
It was something major to see. And I don't want to see that ever again that close to me, within a mile or two.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It was 23 mobile homes or 23 families affected?
There's 23 families
Okay.
total. I mean, many more were affected. You have a lot of other
I'm sorry,
damage.
sorry,
But there's 23 that.
displaced.
That were displaced.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's between the apartments and the trailers. Yes, ma'am.
And does that include the Copper Road people?
The Copper Road people, we have, yes, it does. Because the minute I heard about them, I rolled over there. You and I talked on the phone. I went over there and met with them and then shifted some resources to them. But I think there's 3 on Copper. The house that's completely off its piers, one of them has no roof, and then one of them that had severe damage. And then there's about another 4 or 5 that are damaged, but not as severely.
Yeah, 'cause that whole little section,
Oh, yeah, we
was
didn't even.
kinda, yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
left out at first.
I agree. Not for long, though. Not for long. Any other discussion? Then, we vote then I need a motion to adopt. Yeah, under the emergency thing.
Because it was
so-
introduced.
Yes, now it's
already.
introduced.
Yeah.
So now I need a motion to adopt.
Motion.
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Marlon Lewis and a second by Councilman David Broussard. Is there any discussion? Further discussion? None?
So you would need to amend it to say that the fee would be waived?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
No, ma'am.
all right.
Any other discussion? Then please vote your machine. Thank you. I'll call the governor's office in the morning and see what we can do. Thank y'all. 6A.
Give us an update if you don't mind, what you speak to.
Sure, I'll be glad to. I'll be glad to.
Resolution number 22-244, authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute a cooperative endeavor agreement by and between the City of New Iberia and the Garen Paul Atkinson Lewis Foundation related to the Teen Court Program.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Brooke Marquardt and a second by Councilman Dustin Swear. Is there any discussion on this item?
Yeah, Mayor, I just,
Yes, sir.
and just because I don't know, I hadn't been closely operating, closely operating or situating myself
Yeah.
to this, but I do know kind of hear what's happening. So basically, the city is giving money to teen court,
Yes.
$10,000 to teen court.
It ends up through, the way we did it, we took the 10,000 from our budget, we put it in teen court, and then it's going to, through the city. We had a meeting and we negotiated this cooperative endeavor agreement so that we can pass the money along.
So through GPAL to teen court or through to teen court to GPAL?
Well, the city,
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
just
it goes straight
curious.
to GPAL.
Yeah.
But it comes from the city, and remember, we took over most of the function of city court.
Okay.
So, all their employees are our employees, we buy the office supplies, we buy everything, so, but it is tracking through that. So basically, Kevin will cut the check and we will, get it, to GPAL.
And the reason why I ask, and I believe in supporting nonprofits. I think we need them. They're the fabric of building communities and revitalization or bringing awareness. They're the fabric. And I just wanted to know, for my,
Yeah. This one
To references
is pretty
of-
unique too because it's a city function. In other words, it's tied directly to teen court and directly to a city function. So because it's providing a service for the city, for our kids, and, giving those kids a break and opening their eyes to a path they don't want to take, we could easily do that as a city because it's working closely with teen court and with our kids. So, that doesn't mean that we can fund any nonprofit that's just disconnected and not doing anything through the city. The plus of this is that it's directly, connected to the city, to city court, to the marshal's office. Like when you go, remember the other night when we went to that little demonstration, the marshal's there working, the judge is involved, the city prosecutor's involved. So it's almost in-house in a way.
right. And listen, I'm not trying to open a can. I love the work that GPAL
Oh, yeah.
is doing. I know the people involved.
Sure.
Passionate. I just know people gonna come and ask for money.
Oh, I know, that's why,
So, public needs
we're
to know.
having this discussion that, you know, it's something that is really part of a function of city court, in a way. Yes, sir.
Already asked.
Yeah, if anything that we can do that's part of our public function, we can agree with a private organization to do. So after we met, what we said was, for the teen court functions of the GPAL Foundation, we will give them this money to be used for an approved set of expenses. And we had a
We
list of
itemized.
them, it's in there, so, and they have to count, they have to give us receipts and stuff like that. So it's not unrestricted, and it's doing something that we could do without them, but we think we could do better through them.
So, gotcha.
Yeah. Anybody else? No other discussion? Then I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. All right, 6B.
Resolution number 22-245, authorizing city officials/employees to sign the request for payment forms in connection with the fiscal year 2021 Community Development Block Grant Program for a sewer system improvements project.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas and a second by Councilwoman Brooke Markcott. Is there any discussion on this item?
So basically, you're just changing the people who can sign the checks.
Yeah, it's just putting three cents. Yeah, so you, Kevin,
Yeah,
and, yeah.
basically, yes, yes.
Okay.
And that's for that block grant that we're, you know, working on. Anybody else? And please vote your machines. Thank you very much. All right, 6C.
Resolution number 22-246, accepting the proposal from Louisiana Testing and Inspection Incorporated for geotechnical testing and construction support services related to the City of New Iberia concrete repair project, and further authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute any documentation in connection therewith.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Councilwoman D. Johnson Reed and Councilwoman Brooke Markcott. Any discussion on this item?
So is there any reason why this particular service wasn't included in the bid?
Come on up, because it really is. It's all unit cost, but.
So this is not, so when you do these projects, you hire an engineering firm, we do the plans, we do the daily inspections, but we have to have a construction, testing company involved in the project. We don't bring those guys in until we actually start construction. So even on the asphalt project, we have a company called Braun. They provide the material sample, they do the, laboratory testing. They're basically the verification company to do that work, to make sure that the product they're producing meets the standards that we have to meet.
No, I get the service that they're providing. What I'm trying to find out is why wasn't it included in the original bid? Well, I mean, our proposal that you guys gave us, because everybody else, I think, was included in there, and now this is an additional expense.
No, ma'am.
not?
When we give you a proposed budget, we basically give you an engineering cost, a project representative inspection cost, we give you a geotech service cost, and we give you a construction cost. That's all broken down in the budget already.
So
This
isn't
is-
this geotechnical testing?
It is. Well, it's
confused
a
then.
geotechnical testing company, but they're there to do construction support services. That's already budgeted in the budgets we give you from last year, when we started all this stuff.
Okay, I guess I'm just trying to figure out why the separate bill. Maybe you can answer that question for me, Freddie.
We don't do it directly through us, because if we do it through us,
Then they
it's
gotta
a
mark it up. In other
So,
words, it's better this way. We talked about that at the beginning.
Yeah.
In other words, when I hire an engineering firm, I could let them do everything, and they can run everything through in-house of them. But then it costs more money. They mark it up.
yeah.
So we talked about that when we set the structure of this, and I said, well, no, break it apart. So they get their own contract. Well, now it's time to do it because I need them. But
Okay.
basically, nothing runs through, because they're doing this and I negotiate with them and sign a contract with the city, I pay them directly. And
Okay,
that's the only difference. But if you look in the budget from the beginning, those costs are in there. It's just now time to pay the piper.
so it's in the 11
In
million.
Yeah.
we're trying to spend, we had a total of 12.5. Some of it went, a lot of it went to engineering. We took that out. We have that $11 million number we're trying to stick to if we can. We know that there could be some changes, but yeah, that's in that budget already.
Okay,
So it's
that's
not-
the only,
it's not
that's
a
the question I'm
change,
asking.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah,
I kind of
okay.
figured that would be it, but,
Yeah.
And this way, like I said, we save the markup of the engineering firm.
Okay,
And I mean, we do a little proposal, we bid this out to all the local companies to try to get the best price for the city. And I mean, they turned in, I mean, it's a rate sheet, but I mean, it's just to try to get everybody to bid the same thing.
Yeah.
That way, at the end of the day, you're paying the best rates for the services.
okay.
And they work at our direction, they're not on the job every day, we call them in when we need, samples
tested,
done,
right.
testing done, so, but I mean, they can't exceed there's a budget limit, they can't exceed that, so.
No, yeah, no problem. I just want to make sure it's coming out of the 11 million,
Yeah,
not somewhere
that-
else.
That's already included in when we put out the budgets for y'all, it's already in there.
Excellent.
Any other discussion? And I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, 7A.
Introduction of ordinance number 2022-26, an ordinance to amend and extend for a period of 25 years until December 6, 2050, ordinance number 2000-580, adopted November 8, 2000, which ordinance granted a franchise to Clico Power LLC, formerly Clico Utility Group Incorporated, its successors and assigns for the construction, maintenance, and operation of the electric utilities, electric generating facilities, and/or transmission and distribution systems in, through, and across the City of New Iberia, Louisiana municipality, and for the use of the streets, alleys, and public places of said municipality in connection therewith for the generation, transmission, distribution, and sale of electric current, energy, and/or power, and to modify the terms of said franchise granted in ordinance number 2000-580 as hereinafter set forth and setting for public hearing on January 3rd, 2023.
Mayor,
Do you have a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to move that, we postpone this introduction since we recently received, some information that we definitely need to take a look at. And, maybe we can have some more input as a council into the negotiation process. So that's my motion, to postpone the introduction.
Okay, I have a substitute motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I have a motion by Councilwoman Deidre Ledbetter and a second by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed. Do I have any discussion? What's that?
When, well, we have time. We've just gotten this packet of information, and, council members in general haven't had very much input into the negotiation process. And, I think, as far as I'm concerned, that we need to have more input into that part of it. So it could be a few meetings, it could be, I mean, we have 2 years left on the contract. But I didn't table it because, we want it to come back up. It's just a postponement until, we are allowed to have our input into it.
At least read through the contract, because we got the amendments, but since we got this is really, and I appreciate, thank you, Jeff, for giving us a red line version of it, so we can look at it and see, and just make sure that everything we think should be included in there is including, because if we sign something like this, we're going 25 years into the future. None of us are going to be in office in 25 years. So, I mean, I think we just need to make sure that we review this so that our citizens know we're making the best possible decision as we move forward.
My plan was to run through the whole thing tonight. That's why it's all redlined. But
I know, it's just,
anyway,
okay.
okay. Is there any other discussion? Yes, sir.
I think being that we have a motion to postpone, I would recommend that our city attorney go through the red line version and explain to, because I've seen a lot of these questions that may be could be answered by our attorney tonight in this red line version, if possible, ma'am.
Okay, Jeff's got his hand up.
I'd like to tell you what I put together, because the purpose of this was to give you background on what this thing is. So I put together a little package of information. The first thing that I have is the ordinance that was adopted in 2000. And the way this thing is written, we took the agreements from 2000 and the ordinance from 2000, and that, the term of that ordinance is extended, which extends the terms of those agreements. So the red line is showing you the changes that the new ordinance makes in the old ordinance. And I don't think you're gonna see anything here that's really a big substantive change, but take a look at it. The next thing I have is copies from my old file of the ordinance that was adopted in 2000, and then the other agreements that went along with it, the street lighting agreement and the electric service agreement. And the way this works, as you remember, we granted a franchise to Lawco recently. We had a franchise agreement and we had a service agreement. This is a little bit different because the way this works is there's a franchise agreement and then the other two agreements go along with it. If we extend the franchise agreement, we extend the terms of these other two agreements too. So it's all a package in one ordinance. And extending the franchise will extend the other two, and I got a copy of the other two from 2000. So you can see they got some general billing procedures and so on and so forth. So that's some information from 2000. I've got a copy of a July letter from 2000 where CLECO said they were going to make certain payments over time to the city in exchange for granting the franchise. So this is kind of like our, I call it a signing bonus. You know, we get a salary, we get a signing bonus. This is the signing bonus. The salary is the 4% franchise fee. So this is the deal that was offered, the upfront money that was offered in 2000, so you can compare it to the upfront money offered today. Then I have some old documents here. This is from way before I got here. This is from 1926. This is the sale that took place when the city sold to Gulf Public Service Company, which later merged into CLECO, the electric and water plant that the city owned. So this is the 1926 sale where we sold all this stuff. And you can see that it includes some land and some buildings, and it also includes water, because this is electric and water, waterworks, wells, machinery, appliances, fixtures, appurtenances, meters, switches, supplies, poles, lines, transformers, street lights, pipes, mains, hydrants, and all of the distribution system for water and for electricity. So we sold the whole thing. And this was done by Edward LaSalle when he was mayor and the city council back then, 1926.
Behind Marlowe.
You were reading my mind.
He got that Sid Abad hair.
Yeah. And you can see, why did we do this? Why did we get rid of our utilities? Well, one of the reasons could have been they paid us $425,000, which in 1926 was a lot of money. So I've got a copy of that sale that shows the price and everything. And then right after that, I have a copy of the first franchise agreement that the city granted to Gulf Public Service. And it's written kind of in a similar way to the ones that are written now. What we are leasing to them is not the wires and the poles. We're leasing them the right to have the business and the right to use our property for their wires and poles. So I have no doubt that the wires and poles belong to CLECO and not to us. In 2000, there was talk about why didn't the city just take it over and run the utility and have an electric utility, kind of like other public bodies might do. And I think it didn't last. The talk didn't last very long because the feeling was we didn't have the money to buy it and we didn't have the expertise to run it. The last thing I have is a copy of some tax assessments that show about $40 million of properties assessed to CLECO, which includes machinery and equipment and land and a lot of electric lines. You got $30 million of electric lines here. So I think this will give you background on how this thing has worked in the past. So a franchise is an agreement. It's a permit where we allow somebody to provide a service on a non-exclusive basis within the city limits, and we allow them to use public streets and rights of way and bridges and alleys and everything else to provide that service. And we're doing the same thing here, extending the term on the similar terms to the terms that we had in 2000. So it's a similar franchise fee and everything else. We have not, as far as I know, ever regulated rates. That's the business of the Public Service Commission, and probably not something you want your phones to ring about. But we do, in exchange for granting this permit, negotiate certain improvements and certain payments to be made to the city in exchange for granting this right. So it was not my intention to delay this. It was just my intention to give you the history of this thing because it goes back 100 years. And if you have questions about it, you can get in touch with me, but that's why I copied this stuff to give to you today. So I think to move forward, what we would need to do at some point would be to introduce the ordinance to extend the franchise, which automatically introduces the service agreements, which now run on a year-to-year basis. And then we would go through the process of public hearing and adoption. So when you're ready to do that, that's what we do. But I wanted to give you this background information to show you kind of the way this has been handled for many, many years within the city.
Thank you. Do I have a motion and a second? Yes, sir.
Um,
Other discussions where I was headed.
My opinion on the postponing, whether it's a table or postpone, to me, it's basically the same thing. I mean, I won't support that. Thank you for clearing that up, Jeff. I mean, it does say a lot just in him speaking to us about what this all entails. So, that's it for now.
Okay, Rick.
I think Jeff said exactly what this is about. This is an introduction of an ordinance moving forward, and we have other options to discuss it. I'm not going to support a postponement because I think as a government, we have to provide a utility service to our customers. And this is the provider of our customers, and there's not many other options, and it's a solid contract. And if you go look at other municipalities, they're all solid franchise agreements down the road. I think if we go to begging and pleading and changing things, possibility exists, but that comes at a later date. But I think currently, we need to provide our constituents with a solid source of power. And I never said affordability because that's governed by the Public Service Commission. I said I said solid source of utility service for our community, just like this tornado just passed. They were Johnny on the spot, fixing all the stuff. So we need somebody to provide power to our constituents. I think this is just the first step in getting that move forward.
Well, I definitely want to ask the question, what's the difference between a postponement and a table? Because are they the same? Because I know when we're talking about Robert Rule of Order, those terms are legal. So legal
Table.
according to, Robert Rule of Order.
Table would really, take it off
Okay.
the burner. We don't really want to take it off the burner. We just don't want to vote on it tonight. So a postponement and a specific date, I won't say because I think that some of us, me in particular, would like a few things in the agreement besides, what's there right now. We paying right now $500,000 a month or so for, streetlights, and they have
$500,000 a year.
A year.
It's
Oh,
almost
okay.
$600,000. It's $600,000 now, but it's not a month.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Well, I mean, you getting me nervous now.
Wow, we got that much money? Wow.
But
A lot of lights.
but half of the lights are out, and it seems to be it's our duty as council members or people in general to police that, and to me, that should be their responsibility. We're paying for it, so we're not getting that service, really. They just changed the pole by my house. The light's not working. It wasn't when they changed it, but they didn't change the light either. Those kinds of things, and it costs us to put a light, a street light. It shouldn't. We're paying a lot of money for it. And we want to lock in for another 25 years. It seems like we're not getting enough, especially for our constituents. I think they should be getting more, if you have solar panels, in that buyback deal. So it's some things that we should really, I think, negotiate about before we, and it's no big rush on this. We have a couple of years, even though I don't think it'll take that long, but we need to seriously think about this. Because it's going to be not just our administration, but several to come.
Yes, sir. So who you still?
Well, I still had the
You still
floor.
had
My
the floor.
question was just being answered.
I know, that's what I thought, so.
I'm kind of that, I'm that guy that will keep up with who cut the line.
Oh, yeah, I know, and I try to keep up myself.
But, I'm kind of torn. I understand this is a service company that we need, and I also understand CLECO and other companies around the state are monopolies. So my thing has always been, I totally understand is what's the sense of urgency. I get it. Not the sense of urgency. I get why we're looking at it the way we're looking at it. But I ask the question, what is the sense of urgency? What is the collateral damage? What is the, you know, I'm asking that too, because those are the things that I'm confused about. Not so much, because I know we need a power company. I know 25 years seems like a long time. I guess the question for me is 25 years a long time for a service company? And when I look at the 1926 contract, it was 25 years, and looked like that's the way they did business with utility companies, 25 years at a time. So I'm torn, I really am, because to me the biggest thing is getting stuff in the contract that will help our constituents. Anyway, I read something about Section 4. Which regulations may provide for the payment on or before a specified day each month for all service furnished for the preceding month with right to disconnect and discontinue service to all delinquents. And to me, that means people that are sick and shut in, literally, with the dialysis machines, like I think Councilwoman Reed brought up last time, oxygen machines, things of that sort. I don't look at CLECO like the mongrel with the axe chopping the world to pieces, but that is what corporations are described as today, the mongrel with the axe chopping the world out of pieces. But I don't know that, that this is what's happening, but, because, corporations tend to forget about the little people. That's why, where we at today in some areas in the world, but I'm torn, I really am. I don't know, we've always done 25-year contracts. I see that. We've always prepared for the next councils. I see that in the future. So I'm just torn. My thing is I'm more concerned about, bottom line, for me, the elephant in the room is our community, the community I serve, is not satisfied with the utility bills. That's basically what it boils down to. Let's just call it what it is. They're not satisfied with the utility bills. And I don't know how to fix it. We saying Public Service Commissioner could fix it. They didn't fix it. They've been down here 3 times. I see the guy Bossier in New Orleans. They got him out of there. And people lost because people said my bill's too high. Wasn't that the guy was doing a bad job? People saying my bill's too high. So I'm really just I'm not at a loss for words, as you can see, but I'm torn. I'm torn in this situation because I understand we need a utility service company, but what happens if not? That's where I'm at. What's our collateral damage? What are our consequences? What do we lose and what can we gain? I was taught, at a negotiation table, one should never leave without something for the people you represent. So that's kind of like, and I'm not, I'm here to represent, listen, I'm here to represent a minority district, that at one time did not exist. They say, hey, look, the people representing everybody in this community, they ain't valuing the people, black and poor whites, then minorities. They created these minority districts. I have to, as long as I sit in this seat, I got to represent them. And what's happening is the people that I serve are not satisfied with the high utility bills. And the question is, does this contract fix it? And can the contract fix it going forward? That's the question. And if it can't fix it, then I'm all right with it. I live by the law.
I know you had your hand up, but I want everybody to speak at
I'm
least
done,
once.
I'm done.
No, that's fine. Mr. Broussard, you had your hand up, and then Brooke.
What's the timeline on losing that $1 million signing bonus, you wanna call it? Or bonus that we get from CLECO? What timeline we have if we do postpone it, that we get in jeopardy of losing that? Because I don't believe, that any changes we do. And we could, we have, I don't think we're gonna lose CLECO. CLECO gonna be our next electric person, it doesn't matter what, cause Slimco's over there in that area, you right here. I hope y'all make it better and better through the years, sir. You can't be protecting me a little bit where I live. You told me that you're checking on things. I hope you do more and more of that. We always called y'all family. So we hope that y'all can stand up and do more and more for us, but I'm not for prolonging this because I think CLECO's gonna be the main person in here. We don't wanna change over to some little company and don't know what they do. 20 years or 10 years we go in with them. So that's my point, is that, but how long do we have that if we do postpone, that we lose that $1 million signing bonus that you can use for the city,
Thank you.
work in the city and somewhere. So,
Okay. I'll address that after everybody speaks. Brooke, you were next, and everybody spoke once, I think. Yeah,
I
so-
have,
Yes, so that was,
After Brooke,
that was my question. Like, if we postpone it for a meeting or two, just to kind of, first off, I got all this today that I didn't get to read through. So if we postpone it a meeting or two, just to give us time to wrap our brains around this information, will we lose our sign-on bonus? Does it dwindle
Gonna change.
down?
It could
you know,
change, but anyway,
and-
take your
and
time.
Are we allowed to like kind of have little things that we want to put in there possibly? Or is the negotiation phase over?
No, never said it was over.
Okay,
I thought we'd do it right here, as
okay,
transparent as we can.
gotcha.
So, no, it's not over.
Okay,
It's not over till it's over,
okay.
but I'll
I
speak it
do-
then.
You know, I want my little lights, you know, not unnecessarily, just
Yeah.
little
And
street
we'll
lights.
just have to pay for them, but it's okay.
But no, like if we could even limit, you know, like every year, you get no more than 10 street lights you could put up, but it has to be a necessity. It has to be like an actual dark spot, not just because there's an empty pole, you know, like a dark, dangerous area.
And
We
you'll
could all
have
go and look at
60 or
it.
80 requests every year, and I'll let you tell them.
You think
no.
that many?
Yes, ma'am, I've been here for 6 years, and we'll just be telling them no or telling them we can't afford it, but one at a time.
Okay, I've only gotten 3 in 2 years, so that's why I'm shocked by
That's
that number.
because we have a policy that we don't put any more because we can't afford to put any more. Because
Okay.
we spend $600,000 a year on streetlights. What you want to give up? There's no free lunch. We're gonna give up
It's a
something
lot
to
of
get
money.
something.
It
If you
should be
want more
included.
streetlights, I will budget more streetlights. Y'all are right. I will do what you want, but we're gonna give up something else. But like I said, one at a time.
I have something to say and it's not nice, not to you.
Well, you can.
But, I mean, you know, if they can donate to people's campaigns, you know, public service commissioners, why can't they afford these
I
streetlights for our
understand,
citizens?
but, you know, what big business does is not, you know, that's
Okay.
not what our discussion is about. The discussion's
I know.
about our franchise agreement and moving forward.
Right.
And what we do with any money we get and how we serve our citizens. I mean, we all have to talk about the whole picture, but you can't fix the country. You know, I can't make I'm gonna talk after, but I can't make gas prices go down. I didn't make them go up. We
Right.
live in a gas-rich area.
Well, I
If
know
gas was, if we were drilling and we had gas, our rates would be a lot lower, but that's.
Yeah, we're not gonna be able to change the
We
rates.
can't
I'm
talk
aware of
about
that.
national, you know, or what big
Aware of that.
corporations do, because they do what they do.
Okay, I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
want to read this.
I understand. But
so
we would go over it tonight, but it's okay.
I guess for me, you guys probably know by now, I like reading contracts to understand what's going on. And I need time. I need to be able to read it to make sure it includes the things that are important to my constituents. And, I mean, most of you have said already the things that we've experienced over the last 12 months with electricity bills, and, you know, we haven't seen any of the data to know, you know, if they analyze it, how is this, you know, how many people in our city actually either were turned off or were in danger of being turned off, I mean, because of these high utility bills. Now, I don't think our contract would necessarily fix all that, but it would also help us to maybe build in some sort of protections for our people, because that's part of the negotiation process, is we can put some protections in for our citizens. And even like with the street lights, we can say, okay, we want you to come in, get rid of all these bulbs that are not LED. And we want to make sure that they're owned, because this is the time to ask those questions or ask for those things to be put in the contract when you're negotiating with them. Because, I mean, we're paying higher bills because we don't have all LED lights. That would reduce the bill for the city. So I'm not asking for a month, I'm asking for the next meeting. I just need some time to go through it and be able to write my notes down so that I can ask the questions in here to make sure I'm covering my constituents.
Everybody spoke once?
Yeah, at least once. Can I say something else?
Justin's been waiting, and then I'll call in.
That's
Jack.
fine.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
I'll
get
say
the
one
traffic
thing.
count.
Look, when it comes to negotiating, I've been hearing a lot of talk about maybe lessening the years of the franchise agreement. But y'all want to negotiate and y'all want to put more things on the table, but they're not going to give in, especially when you limit the years on them. They're not going to give in to with the request that we want. If you want to lessen the years of the agreement, that's just the way I see it when it comes to negotiation. That's gonna get harder. And Freddie, you're right. I mean, if you want to go start pointing fingers, whose fault is this about, the rise in our bills? Natural gas almost tripled. I mean, we need to really think about that. And I hate talking about national politics up here, but it's the truth. It's the elephant in the room. It's the truth. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of other things that it is the reasons why, but natural gas is a big driver in our price to utility cost. So, but yeah, that's my fear when it comes to limiting, say, 10 to 15 years. Then you're not going to get the best bang for your buck for the constituents, because they're not going to render the complete services that they can, because they're not getting that 25-year agreement. So that's basically all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Yes. When we spoke last, when you did the presentation, Mr. Bergeron, we talked about some programs for constituents that are struggling to pay their bills. We asked about maybe starting some additional ones. Those kinds of things we talking about adding to this agreement. If we're gonna do 25 years, we need to get more than this, more than just $1 million and something for the city. We need to get something for our constituents. I understand that the city needs the money to do certain things with, but our citizens also need the money to be able to afford, to pay their bills and all. And not get turned off like the agreement says. So I'm just saying, pump the brakes and see what we can get, because like I said, you have not because you ask not, so we need to ask for more. Yes, you satisfied with getting $1 million and, to do what you would like to do with it, but we all have constituents and we want maybe a little bit more for them.
Ms. Deidre, if you don't mind, the handout that I gave all of you, it shows our bill payment assistance program. You had asked last meeting what we had available. And these are some of the things that we do have available to our customers. I can go down the list with you. We have the budget billing, which spreads out the budget pay over a 12-month period. It allows a flat payment rate for our customers based on an average of their past 12-month history. We have our PowerWise program, which is our energy efficiency program that we spoke at length about. We also have, you guys had asked about our fuel costs for elderly and low income. We have our CLECO alternative rate for electricity, and I'll read it to you. It says this program provides eligible customers a 25% discount on the fuel portion of their electric bill in July, August, and September, which is typically the hottest in months of the year where you have the most consumption. To receive the CARE discount, customers must meet the income guidelines of the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program and enroll yearly through their local community action agency during their enrollment period, which is October 1st through May 30th. Customers who receive LIHEAP benefits are automatically enrolled in the CARE program and will receive the discount. We also have, this is a new program which I touched a little bit on the last meeting, is Unite Us. And you can, our customers can contact CLECO Power, and it gives them assistance with food, clothing, lodging, childcare, transportation, mental health, utility bill assistance, and more. And that's based And that's based not through us, but it's a company that oversees that and goes out nationwide to help find resources to help our customers. So we do have a lot of programs available. We also have our low energy assistance program. And there is also the emergency rental and utility assistance, which is part of the 2021 coronavirus response and relief supplemental appropriations. And that helps residents pay utilities, including electricity, gas, fuel, oil, water, and sewer and trash removal. So we do have a pretty extensive list of things that we can do to help our low income, our elderly customers, and anyone who is in need.
Can I ask you a different question? Are you finished? Do you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what is the city franchise fee on our bill? What is that for?
The city franchise fee is a 4% fee that is assessed to every person within the city limits of New Iberia or of every municipality.
And is that paid back to the city? Or is
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Okay,
City.
so we get that money back?
Yes.
Okay,
Kevin, what do we do with that money?
The city franchise is part of our funding of the general fund.
That's what I thought.
A what?
It goes to the general fund.
okay. All right, so tell me, what is the interim storm restoration and the infrastructure and incremental cost recovery? What are those for?
Those costs, the storm restoration and intermittent cost, that is from the hurricanes, Hurricane, was it Laura, Delta, Zeta, and all of those, plus the ice storm that we had. If,
So we're paying back for whatever happened? So,
yes, ma'am, there were.
so do you charge, I'm sorry, I get it, but is this, so let's say for the next 23, 24, we don't have any storms. Is this gonna come off our bill, or does this continue on our bill?
It will come off your bill. Hurricane Katrina, the rider had just came off of Katrina when Hurricane Laura hit and all the subsequent hurricanes. And we went back to the LPSC and they allowed us to put it back on the bill. The difference between investor owns and companies, the co-ops. The co-ops get reimbursed 75% of their expenses yearly. Storms, that goes up to 90%, sometimes 100%. Investor owns don't get anything. After Hurricane Andrew, insurance companies stopped insuring investor-owned utilities. So the money was basically all on us. So it's an unfair advantage with the co-ops. You, as a resident of New Iberia, you pay for, your tax money pays yearly for the co-ops throughout the state for
Okay.
all their reimbursements. We don't have that luxury.
Okay, all right, and so the last thing on this low-income home energy assistance program, I'm sorry, wrong one. That's the LAHEAP one. That's the one that goes through Small Community Action, right?
Correct.
And people can use that twice a year.
But mostly, yeah, here.
Okay. The emergency rental and utility assistance, that's, I think, the one that's with the COVID?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's temporary, though. I mean, that's not gonna be here forever, right?
That won't be here forever. I don't know how much money is in the fund. I don't know how
Right.
much funds are available, but yes, ma'am.
But that's a temporary, and it's not easy for people to get that. You have to be a renter, you have to be able to, you have to be approved for rental assistance. Otherwise, you cannot get help with utilities. I checked into it, because I wanted to make sure I could tell my constituents about it. So it's just, I get the fact that you guys are, you put this together for us, and I appreciate that. The Unite Us is something new, and it's, I'm glad to see you guys are gonna be putting some resources back into the community. But I guess when we look at the city of New Iberia, which is kind of like your largest market, we're looking for something that says, at least I'm looking for something that says, if I'm on oxygen or dialysis and it's July and I get a $500, $600 utility bill and I only have $1,200 I get for Social Security or disability benefits, that I'm not gonna get turned off if I don't pay that $500 because I need my oxygen.
Yes, ma'am. And we spoke about that. If the customer sends in a letter to us and lets us know that they are on that equipment and
But you
calls-
said that they still could be disconnected.
Well,
And we're looking for, here's what, we're looking for some sort of program that says, you know what, CLECO is a big company, they make a lot of money, and I know y'all got a philanthropic arm of this thing. Something like, some part of that needs to be included for the sick and disabled people or elderly people in communities where 48% of the people are at the poverty level or below. That's what we're saying. Because like Marlin, 28, so it's 40 altogether, right?
28% of our citizens in New Iberia live below the poverty line.
But 40% are poor, considered.
Yeah, I always say that we're up to 40% because 20% live below the poverty line, and then we have quite a few citizens that live above the poverty line.
But they're still poor.
You know, still on
Yeah,
fixed
low income, right. So
incomes.
40-some percent of our people fall into that category of being poor. That should cover them all. What we're saying is that, like, my district is like 60%. Not all those people are, I should say 60% minority. Not all of them are, very low income, but a large majority of them, and most of those people are seniors. So if I don't stand up and try and make sure that we take care of them, they have no other representative to come in front of you or anybody else to make sure they're getting the best possible deal. So that's why we're trying to make sure that something in this contract is going to protect these people, because they're the most vulnerable in our community.
I understand. And I'm sure that you all know that we're good community partners. And we go the extra mile with helping our customers with extensions and payment arrangements. And there's times that we go quite a long time with helping our customers pay their bill until it gets to a point where we see that they don't want to pay their bill.
No, and I get the fact that you're in business to make money, but the one thing I will tell you that does kind of makes me uncomfortable standing here, or sitting here, I should say, listening to this and being able to take it for gospel, is because you're not owned by a U.S. company. And these this is a different culture. Those people don't have to care about what's happening here in New Iberia.
But
Okay.
our management does. Our management is local. We're governed by the LPSC. We're governed by a state agency. Nothing that we do everything is scrutinized by the LPSC. Everything. And so whether we're owned by a company from someone from outside the country, or like in our case, we're owned by 3 separate companies, and one of them being in the United States. John Hancock Financial Services. The base of the company is Louisiana, is Acadiana, and it's the people.
So you mean like the workers, the management team, those people are maybe Acadiana residents, right?
Our CEO is originally from Ville Platte.
Okay. So, but my whole point is that those decisions in the end, they come from way up there in Australia, or down there in Australia. Yeah. Thought about it after I said that. And so for us, I mean, I know you probably heard part of what Mr. Benjamin said earlier. There is a danger of this company being sold to another company, and if we don't have any protections built into that contract, we could be even more vulnerable in the future. Just like they waited for 7 years to get that rate, and boy, man, when they got their rate increase, that new tier system really affected the residents. The next company could come in, and in 5 years, boom, we got another new tier because they got new expenses, and the Public Service Commission decide that they need another increase. And this is not all, your fault, but I'm just trying to make you understand why we want to sit with this contract and take our time to make sure we're doing the right thing for our citizens, because CLECO in 2000 isn't CLECO in 2022. You're a totally different company. You are owned by a different organization. So whatever was said in 2000, you were a local company, privately held company in the state of Louisiana. You're not that company anymore. So we just need to think through what we're doing to make sure we're making the best decision, because in 25 years, well, I hope I'm still alive. But I really don't, I hope that if I'm still alive, I'm walking down the street, nobody's throwing bottles at me because I made a bad deal.
In 2000, we were investor-owned, which means that anyone could buy stock in the company. We're now a privately owned company.
But you're shareholders. I mean, that's shareholders, mostly people here in the United States, people here in the local area. But here's the thing. Again, I'm not saying that it's a bad company, but you're a different company than when you were in 2000. You're not the same company.
Right.
And I've worked for both kinds, so I understand the difference when you're privately held versus when you're a publicly traded company.
And this contract is no different than any other municipality that we serve in the state of Louisiana. Everything is the same.
I get that, but guess what? We're probably the largest market. So we're the largest market, we got the most to lose.
Go back to sleep. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes, ma'am.
in the contract, could it be that we could add so many lights every year? And we wouldn't have to pay for them or pay any more for them? We're not talking about a whole bunch.
No, ma'am. Because, Ms. Deidre, every light that we install or everything that we give free to a customer or municipality, if I give a light free to the mayor, then that power that it takes to generate power to that light, somebody has to pay for it. So whether it be dispersed throughout the entire 295,000 customers that we have, that everybody pays for that light, or if the customer pays for it individually, it's in the regulated utility business, it's hard to give anything free.
Well, it wouldn't be free, then we would have to pay the utility bill on it, of course. But we paying, like right now, for a whole bunch of lights that are not on.
And that street light audit that we did throughout the city should be finished by tomorrow. They've been making repairs. Of course, the tornado stopped those for a couple of days. It was a day and a half to get everybody restored power after the tornado.
I understand that, and you did a real good job. I have nothing bad to say about that. But a lot of our our lights, at night are off, and it's very hard for the police department or citizens to actually let you know, and then it's not done in a timely manner. So could that be a part of the contract?
As far as street light audits, yes, ma'am. We can do street light audits. And when a customer calls in, and there's a time frame, a customer calls in, or if an order is placed in our system to repair a street light, we have a certain time frame, we have a certain window, and before it gets really scrutinized pretty bad. So in New Iberia, for instance, within 5 days from the time an order is placed, within 5 days that light is fixed by the time it gets to our system.
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
Yeah, 'cause it's not.
I got people call lights in a year ago, Willie, and they're like, man, that light been out. Yeah, we have some issues like that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of issues like that. So those are the
lot of
kind of things we don't want to have to deal with for the next 25 years if we can help it. So we want to put some things in the contract that hold your feet to the fire about stuff like that. That's the only thing that we're saying too. And we also want to do some reading on what's in these papers for sure, to be more informed about the way things were up to this point too. That's the only thing about the postponement. We're gonna try, hopefully get as much as we can for our citizens, as well as, provide ourselves with the information we need to deal with the company.
I understand. Mr. Simon had explained everything throughout the contract. It's relatively plain and simple, and it's the same contract, like I said, that goes throughout every municipality. There's nothing out of the ordinary, nothing different. Just states that we're going to provide service to you. We're going to pay a franchise fee, a 4% franchise fee to the city quarterly, and it allows us right away to serve our customers within the city limits.
But sometimes we, as, representing our constituents, would like to be a little bit more specific about that. And I think that's possible.
Huh?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else have any other comments? Sure.
Willie, how many agreements has CLECO signed with municipalities in the state of Louisiana?
How many agreements?
Yeah,
We serve
you serve.
parishes and municipalities throughout the state. We do this yearly, monthly. A minimum 100, 200,
So you have signed 200 of these agreements with municipalities all over the state of Louisiana.
correct.
And you do employ multiple people from the local area that work for CLECO.
We have about
The biggest employers.
we have about 1,500 employees throughout the
Most of them
state.
locally.
Yeah, all of them local.
Driving this economy day in and day out.
Yes, sir.
Turning dollars over day in and day out in the city of New Iberia.
New Iberia is one of our biggest service centers that we
But I
have.
thought, okay. And also, I'm aware that the Public Service Commission just denied a rate increase last week with another company because they are hearing the concerns of rate increases. So they
That-
just did deny one.
That is correct.
I think you got a solid agreement here. I think you provided solid service for the people of this community. I think that it entails all the things we need it to entail. I'd like to give our constituents affordable electricity, but I think that's beyond our control. But I think from a service standpoint and a natural disaster standpoint, CLECO's Johnny on the spot and turns our power right back on, and I appreciate the effort.
Thank you.
Everybody done? Is it my turn?
May I ask one more question?
Yes, ma'am. That's why I'm asking.
How many municipalities are larger than New Iberia?
New Iberia and Slidell are our two biggest municipalities.
And we're about the exact same size. They got 28,800 people, and we have 28,800 people.
I know the mayor slide there.
Yeah. So we're the exact same size. So again, we have a lot to lose if we make the wrong decision. And I'm not saying that it's a bad agreement. I'm just saying we need some time. And we're the largest, and maybe if the largest actually got together, we might be able to force CLECO's hand to do some things that we think they need to do for our people.
Anybody else? All right, it's my turn. I don't have the say because y'all make the motions. I don't want to postpone this with no date on it. I want to keep working on this. I think what we did tonight is good. We're bringing up issues. I like to negotiate right here in front of that camera so that people see. I would rather have this dialogue here, and then we make the decision we make. So I really am not comfortable. Again, I can't stop y'all, but I'm not comfortable with just saying, let's just postpone it. You know, I'll fully take it. Ask Willie. I called them and said, let's start negotiating. Yeah, I'm 2 years early. I was early with Lawcos. It didn't work. We had to go back. I'm early with everything I do. 2 years and 25 years doesn't matter. In other words, it's just 2 years. So I asked to start now so that we could have these discussions. We could do this. Yeah, there is I'll just tell you, I'll put all my cards on the table. We stand to get $1.5 million, okay? I can tell you what I want to do with the money because I've told every one of y'all. I'm going to camera this whole town. The problems I have in law enforcement, that's a way to fix it. We are fast fixing our problem that we were a few people short. We've never hid that. The chief went on the press and basically said, we know that we have trouble attracting officers. We're doing much better, though. Well, we just got 3 more, and they some dynamos. We are 6 people short of 70-something people. You got departments that have 70 people short. But cameras never go to sleep, never need retirement, and never quit looking. And we have way too many shootings here. So I'm going to be totally honest. I will talk to all of y'all behind the scenes. I said, I think it's a good idea. Let's at least look at if we can make an agreement now. Why wait 2 years? I lose 4 great council people in 2 years. I might get 4 great new council people. But the momentum we have as a council, the things that we're doing in the community, the things that I work with y'all on constantly and show up and put out and do, because y'all do the same thing, this to me was an opportunity to fix another problem, to take a complicated issue and get something out of the deal that was good for my whole town. So that's the reason I called Willie and said, I would like to start now. So there's nothing hidden. I'm not starting because it gives them 2 more years or 2 less years. Let's talk about the 25 years. When I saw 15 CLECO trucks after that tornado and how quick they put the power on and everything else. Well, everything's a negotiation. Do we know now, and you can read it all and you don't have to digest it tonight, do we know now that the guy with the good hair, Mayor LaSalle in 1926 sold everything? I don't care what's on the street. We got it in black and white. It's recorded at the courthouse. So we don't own it. The Public Service Commissioner, no offense, Willie, basically set up monopolies whenever they did that. I don't know how many years ago, and said, each company, this is your district. I can't change that. I can't change how much natural gas costs, and really don't want to go into all those discussions. So we're going to end up with CLECO. There is no alternative. they're on the books for 155 million of infrastructure if you look at the whole parish. I don't know what it breaks down from the 155 million to the city. I can't come up with that kind of money. So we're not gonna buy them out ourselves. It's not gonna happen. They have a monopoly, and the Public Service Commissioner regulates. I don't like none of the game. No offense to you or Clico. I didn't set this up, and neither did we, okay? But you bring up valid concerns. So what I'd like to do is make a list. Now, maybe we don't get, I really think that camera system is the ticket with the $1.5 million, because it gave back to the community, and it gives back the way the chief and I have already kind of looked at it. We could do something for 10 years, full warranty, no nothing. If it gets shot, they replace it. I mean, we have to look at that option, and we've been researching that option. So that gives me eyes in our community and maybe stops these shootings. At least picks them up, okay? Does it come with a cost? Yeah, it does. Do I have another way to pay for it? Not right now. Will I quit trying to find a way to pay for it? No, I won't quit. But this was a way to do that. So that was the catalyst for me. So, and we kind of talked about it and thought that that made sense. So that's something I don't want to give up on. So I would rather not say postpone it. It might take us 2 or 3 months to work through all of this. But let's work on it. And what I like to do is work on it right here in front of that camera. Because you're right. We all represent, Rick and I represent the whole town. Each one of you represents a district, and you're listening to your constituents. That's what you're supposed to do. How can I knock you for doing that? That's what you're supposed to do. But just understand, if we make a deal that we push and push, then they're going to say, sure. Well, we're not giving you $1.5 million. Now we're going to pay for, they're a business. Now we're giving you $750,000 because we're taking the other $750 to pay for the demand you had. It's a business. A street light. It's not just a street light. If you don't have a transformer nearby and you don't have enough power and they got to run lines to it, it does cost. There is a cost for them. It might not be in every case, We can look, Kevin, a franchise fee of 4%. How much does that bring in?
I don't have the number, but I'll look it up.
880,000.
I know it's close to 800,000, but I'll
880,000 a year.
right. Well, I want to hear from him since he's the finance guy, but I think it is that.
I calculated it.
Okay, yeah, no, I did too, but I like to listen to the,
Yeah, that's cool. Since he didn't have the number, I was just
right.
offering it.
Well, he just wants to look it up. And we put that money in the general fund, and we pay for all kind of stuff with it. So do we affect our budget if we say, okay, we're going to take, 1% of that? No, it's 4%. So we're going to take $200,000 a year, and we're going to buy some streetlights. I'm not saying we can't do that, okay? But if I can't hold a gun to Willie's head and I always say, Will, it's Clico. If I can't hold a gun to Clico's head and say, you're going to do it, well, that's a decision that we make as a council and say, okay, well, it's important to all of us. We'll do it. But again, that should be done right here in front of the camera, talking to everybody. So what I would like is, let's just keep talking about it. Instead of postponing it, put it on the next meeting. Put it on the next meeting. I would like to work through it.
Okay.
Because we're in a box that there are some things we can control. There's some things we cannot control. So I want to accept what I can't control and work what I can do. And this is an introduction. We're not adopting it tonight. But I would like to keep the ball moving because I don't want to lose the momentum that this council has. And when we finally come to this is the best deal we can get, I want to lock in the deal. And then I want to lock in the deal, and I want to take that money, and hopefully there's enough money left to do what we need, another service that we could provide our citizens. Because I don't want to just put that money in the new money. What do I always say? New money needs to do new things. So when I looked at that money and said, that's new money. That's not money we ever had. It's double what they got in 2000. So I felt pretty good about that. And so I wanted to do something different and do something new and provide a service to our community. And that was about the highest service I could think of. But so I would like to, some kind of way, if you'll let us, keep moving on it. So that's kind of it. Yes, ma'am.
Well, Mayor, if you wanted to do that, why wasn't it for discussion rather than?
Well, it was discussion last time, and then I took all the questions that came up and actually listed them all down the next day and called the city attorney and said, okay, bring all the issues, bring all the answers. So I put them in your packet on Friday, some of it, but I didn't have them all on Friday. So I brought them tonight all redlined so that we would continue the discussion.
Mm-hmm. But you said you went into the negotiations too, but we weren't involved in the negotiations, and that might be part of it.
I didn't really start, we didn't even really finish, we didn't do much. I just called them and said, I want to negotiate.
So
This is where we negotiate.
if we
You,
want
I
to,
run the day-to-day, but I respect my council and I respect all of y'all's opinions. So I think that's why you come to a council meeting and put it on so that we get everybody's opinions.
so you have our
Oh,
opinion.
I got good opinions now. But that's the point. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's not a bad
but,
thing.
but I still feel, I'm not comfortable
fine.
with moving it through,
Then all I'm asking is put a date on it. I don't want this open-ended, okay, we'll deal with it when we deal with it. You read
I'm not talking
more-
about 2 years. No, we're not talking about
But
2
you
years.
can digest all of this, especially you. You can read all of this and digest this. I mean, you want to bring it back again in, 2 weeks? You want to bring it back in a month? I don't think it should just be an open-ended thing, but that's just my opinion.
I think 2 weeks is good, because we can read that, in 2 weeks. I don't know if everyone else just feels comfortable having this in front of you randomly today and not having read it at all. I just want to read it, that's it. Like you said, Clico's not going anywhere. We're not going towards any other company.
We don't
It's
have a
just-
choice.
Right.
You can't bring it to
No,
the voters,
just
you got
to
nothing to
read
vote
the
on.
packet.
Clico owns everything, and they are here, and the Public Service Commissioner lets them be here.
But
Yes, ma'am.
I just think we should get more out of it than we are.
Oh, I don't mind asking. So what I think,
Well, he knows what we asking for.
well,
We
but-
can see if we can get those things.
right, but what we need to do
And
is.
not, since we the largest, or one of the
One of two.
Yeah, one of two large.
Same size,
So,
slide down.
I understand big business, but that's give and take too. It seems that big business always taking, and they throw a little scrap here and there, but we should be in the negotiating part of it also. You're gonna make your money regardless.
Yes, ma'am. Just keep in mind that with a regulated utility, we're, the
Well, I'm planning to
LPSC,
go to some of those meetings too.
the LPSC regulates, the LPSC
They need to
regulates
get
the
ready.
citizens of Louisiana, the ratepayers. So there's some things that we can't give or we can't do because it's just not legal
Yeah,
in the
but
realms of
the stuff
of
that
the
we
commission.
talked about, you could do. You could do.
And maybe we should call them,
Time.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am, you finished? I don't
Yeah.
want- okay. Yes, ma'am. Just keeping the peace.
No, since we only have one other city that is as large as us, maybe we should talk to Slidell. I mean, two largest municipalities, we might be able to get them to make some concessions in their contract. And I'm not saying we have to do, I'm just saying we just give us, I don't think we need a long period of time. I don't think we need a month or anything like that. We can come back to the table, everybody come with their questions. Let's kind of go through, make sure we're all on the same page, try to get some of these things checked off where we're all comfortable with them. Present it to them. I don't know how we would do that, but
Well, as we've done other stuff, put them in writing, send them to me. I'll send them to Willie, and we'll, see where it goes. And then
Okay.
we'll bring it back to the meeting, and you get your answers right here at the meeting.
okay.
I mean, that's the way we've done a lot of other stuff, I take y'all input on everything. There's nothing that I haven't, so make a list, email me what you, are looking for, and then I would like to have time to get them to Clico so they can give us an answer, and then we bring them back and we do this again. I don't know any other way to do it,
I just, 2 weeks, I don't think would be long enough because that includes the holiday.
Oh,
We're
that's
not gonna really be dealing with this during the holiday,
Okay, well, I just asked to keep the ball moving and to put a date on it. So if you want 2 meetings from now, I'm fine with that.
That'd be
But I
good.
would like
I
to
would
say
agree to
that we
that, yes.
continue to talk
Yeah.
and continue to work toward closing this out, if we can, coming up with something that everybody can live with. Or if you can't live with it, you can't live with it. I can't move. And I don't mean that in any kind of cocky way. There's just some parts of the mountain I know we can't move. All right? The
Right.
deck is stacked against us. So, but let's work on what we can try.
So we're talking January 17th?
Laney? Okay, January 17th.
Okay.
That's 2 meetings.
We still
Yeah, I
have to
think
vote
Ms.
Yeah, I
Ledbetter
know.
said 2
We
meetings.
haven't voted on anything. I know, we
Right,
haven't
I
done
feel
anything yet.
Just before that.
No, we've had a bunch of discussion on the substitute motion, if
Correct.
I'm right, okay?
Correct.
And so you would amend the substitute, or add a
To-
date to the substitute motion.
January
And
the
that's what we would
17th.
vote on. So we're not voting on the
So
introduction.
I will amend to say, we'll revisit it, the introduction on the 17th of January.
Okay, and please put in there that everybody needs to get me all of their concerns and comments so that I can send them to CLECO and, you know, we can keep moving.
If I could get a second.
Second, sorry.
Yeah, I thought you said that.
I was a second.
Yeah, she was the second from the beginning.
Yeah, well, with the amendment too.
Yes, ma'am. So,
There won't be a final vote on the 17th, there will be a discussion.
no, what we doing on the 17th is bringing it back. We'll list it as an introduction, and then we have to see if, where we get. In other words, what answers we have, and then you come and say, okay, you know, add this to it, add that to it, or Willie says, no, we're not doing this or that. We do this again, because that's how you want the steak, you gotta kill the cow, and you gotta get bloody. And then we might be coming up with an introduction.
I know, but I'll be missing that meeting.
Okay, well, send me your comments and all
I
of
just
that.
wanted to make sure it wasn't the final vote.
Okay, no, it won't be. It'd just be to introduce. Any other questions or comments? And if y'all don't like the plan, change the plan. I mean, that's the best plan I can come up with.
I like to postpone it for a month.
Okay, well, so we're all in
So,
agreement.
yeah, the 17th,
The
Okay.
17th
because
is
today's the
on.
20th, so we're 3
Yeah.
days shy.
Any other discussion then? Then I'd ask you to vote your machines. All right, thank y'all. Good discussion. Thank you, Willie. Okay, now I gotta figure out where I'm at.
7B.
That's what I thought. We postponed it, so thank you. You can put them on my desk. I need it. What is it now?
All that trouble printing that.
$800,000?
No, more like 1.3 million.
Okay, good.
Oh, wow, so it's 4%?
I wanted to,
Yeah, well, I
4%
mean,
of everything.
I only bill I got is mine, so I did it based on my bill.
I know, but it doesn't quite work that way. Okay, good. Well, I need it on my desk. Thank you.
Good effort, though.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we're moving on to 7B.
Introduction of ordinance number 2022-27, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute an agreement by and between the City of New Iberia and Blue Line Solutions LLC for the installation of automated speed enforcement systems within school zones in the city limits of New Iberia and setting for public hearing on January 3rd, 2023.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Dustin Swear, and I think a second by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas. Discussion. And we have a representative here from Blue Line.
Okay, Matt,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so this is a 3-year agreement, right? So there's some terms in this contract that make me a little uncomfortable. This number, under, section 4, term and termination, C, where it says the right of first refusal is a 3-year term, which means that we can't sign with another company that provides a similar service to them for those 3 years.
Right,
If I read the-
they come and put all the infrastructure in.
I know, but here's the thing. What if somebody comes out and they have better technology? I mean, that's 3 years after, I think, the term, and Jeff, correct me if I'm reading this incorrectly, after the expiration of the 3-year agreement. So now we're talking about 6 years before we could potentially even move to better technology if they don't continue to provide the best possible technology. That's the first thing that kind of caught my eye. The second thing, I'll skip that. It's under the fees. It's a little misleading to say that we get 60% and they get 40%, because when you add in the fees that they charge us, like there's a $4.50 fee for every, seems like transaction, another $2.50. It's like $6.50 more that they charge us that comes out of our proceeds. So at that point, they got 53%, we got 47%. And then there's an additional fee for our customers that use a debit or credit card, a convenience fee for $5.90 that actually they get, we don't get any part of that. And then the other fee was I guess the other fee, I'm not sure of, who gets the late fee? Because if they are late, there's a significant late fee. So who gets that as proceeds? Do they get it or do we get it? And if we still have to put in a lot of time and effort, you're gonna have to have a person that actually has to process
Yes,
this.
ma'am. My main thing is not the money, though. Please remember.
No, I know
My
that.
main thing is to stop the speeders in the school zones, and the fact that I got LP cameras that are looking at, like, LPRs that are looking at license plates and those kind of things. So while the money's one part of it, I didn't want to do this, and I don't think the chief did either, looking at it from the money standpoint.
No,
Too much, you know?
no, at the same
They
time, I just
provide
wanna make
everything,
sure,
so-
no, I just wanna make sure that
We know
it's
we
a
get
fair deal and that we understand. I mean, the money thing, to me, I just said it's misleading to say 60%, because it's not 60% that we get. And we've said that in here. I want to make sure people know we're not getting 60%. So when people come back and say, well, y'all getting 60% of the fee, no, we're not.
Right.
Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, I'm probably more concerned of that first right of refusal thing, because that limits our ability to move to another company if somebody else has better technology in the future. It looks, and hopefully I didn't misread it, but it's very possible. Seems like it's almost saying, like we're signing like a non-compete. We won't go to a competitor after the agreement ends for 3 years, or limited to 3 years, something like that.
Well, I think generally you're reading it right.
Okay,
Although it says substantially similar service.
I know,
So
but another.
We can leave them for a better service.
So if we found something better, we could leave. Okay.
But it says similar service. I
So
thought,
substantially similar service.
so if they're, so we need, I guess for me, I want to make sure that in their minds, that doesn't mean we all provide y'all with a radar detector system, so you can't leave and go to them. I'm just used to those non-competes we used to have to sign for technology when we used to negotiate contracts. Never wanted to agree to that because it limited our ability to move to better technology. So I just want to bring that up as a concern.
That's fine. But if Jeff tells, no offense, if Jeff tells me I can quit him, I'm gonna quit him.
Yeah, but,
You know, if something better comes along.
Well,
okay.
hopefully they don't
Is
sue
it
us.
better if we don't have that? Yes.
Okay. Okay, so can we get it out of there, Jeff? Can we say to them, we're gonna scratch that? Because we don't want that in the contract.
Is it a provision that protects them? Yes. If we can get rid of it, yes.
Should we get rid of it?
Well, that's a judgment call for the legislative body. That's not my call.
I say we get rid of
Just
it.
gave an
Okay.
opinion, in other words.
Yeah, I know, I'm just messing with him.
And I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Who's got the burden of collecting these things?
Yeah, our company has the burden of
We
collecting.
do too,
So, the, all of it's done through our center. So, we have, three, if you remember my presentation from last time, when they get the citations, there's 3 different ways to pay the citation, whether they use the 1-800 number to call in, and they could, of course, pay with a credit card then, or they could, choose.
Is there a
to send check
transaction
in.
fee on that too, when they
There's-
call
Yeah,
in?
on the credit card, sure.
Yeah, the
Uh,
$5.90?
Yeah, because we get charged for credit card passing things along too. However, if there's a check, then there's not, right? So, they can, just like a normal bill, you can tear the perforated edge and send it in as well. So, and of course, you can pay online, which again, turns into a credit card fee. So.
Exactly.
There's 3 different ways to do it, but again, we're passing along a lot of these, charges that we're charged, right? We work with credit card companies, so that's part of what we do. Now, as far as who collections and how they go about it, we just came from our company Christmas party, and so for the first time I was able to hear some of these phone calls that these individuals take, because we will advise you to have them call us. That's what we do. That's our job. These are recorded lines. Everything is recorded for the playback. Somebody comes and says, well, they told me this or told me that, it's all recorded in our shop, but everything comes through us. Everything goes into one account. Therefore, when you're audited, we're audited the same. So that's why it's all collected in one area.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, because what it says in page 10 of 14, number 3, city shall provide customary fine collection services for all final dispositions for contested violations. City agrees to reasonably pursue payments of valid notices of liability with service of follow-up letters or summons as required for contested violations. So that sounds like that's a pretty big burden on us.
Exactly.
So if I may, if I could get just a list of questions, because yes, there's a lot of there's so many things on that contract that are a little bit, some are above me, some of them are not, when it comes to some questions, like I think you asked earlier, fees, right? Late payment fees, right? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Well, it's the
'Cause
same split as the
It's
normal.
not clear in here who
Right.
gets the late fee.
It's the same split as a normal, but the questions can be, so during the times that we provide the contract, we expect a red line. We expect to be able to work with you and answer all the questions that you need. And some of them are gonna be answered by someone other than myself, because they are, again, we have an attorney as well that answers a lot of these questions for us too.
We just don't
Okay.
want that burden.
Sure, I agree, I understand completely.
I mean, I'm coin operated, but you don't want me to have that burden either.
Yeah, I understand. Those are the things we'll if it passes, those are the things that we'll negotiate, with Jeff and their contract. It's true.
Okay.
That
I
works.
have another question.
We gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, well, let me ask this question first. So should we send in our questions to you about the contract?
I mean, I'm not being
Are
ugly,
you-
we gotta keep moving. So I'll listen here all night, but yeah.
No, I'm-
help me, in other words, like these two issues we brought up, send them to me. I'm gonna give them to Jeff. We're gonna redline his contract, just kinda like we're doing with Clico. In other words, we don't have these are new things. We're doing different stuff. Like we kinda got over the AIA contracts and, every time we bring something new, we're gonna have, new ways to look at it.
Right.
So yeah, send them to me and I'll hatchet it up with Jeff's help and we'll send it back.
Okay, because there's some other things about maintenance and stuff like that, we need clarification on who the burden's for. Is
Right.
it them, us, or,
I guess every time we do something new, we need to just understand that we introduce it, we hack it up, and either we do it here, or you send them to me, or we do both. I kind of like listening to it again. I like the camera there. I like that people hear we thinking and talking. So bring all your points, and then after that, email them to me, and I'll get with Jeff, and we'll see what we can do.
We totally expect to have some sort of
Yeah.
red
He already told
line,
me it's gonna
and we
get-
also
yeah.
totally expect to have a list of questions. That's
Okay.
every single department I go into,
Yeah.
it's all different. There's a lot of questions answered here and there, and of course, I'm trying to learn as much of this contract as I can, to get as the best I can to be able to provide answers for. But I will not answer them without just like a house. You don't do anything without an attorney's presence,
Exactly.
right? No different here. I would never try to officially answer them. They would come from an official source.
And I do have one other question. The $450 processing fee, is that just online or every payment that is
Yeah,
processed?
And I don't have that piece in front of me, but that is for I believe a specific photo that we have in there. And I've seen another agency, I believe it's Winfield. They did not want that service. It's part of an additional service, I believe, as well. I don't have it in front of me. You can read the whole thing because it's
Okay, so it
for what
It doesn't say that in here, so that's another thing we need to get clarification on, because that's very unclear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that we expect to do that.
Yeah.
We'll get you a clarification on it. I can tell you, I know what that's about. It's about additional photo that we provide, so we'll just figure out how to get that to you more clear. A lot of these are great questions for me because it helps us move forward with other customers, right?
Right. Okay, and,
Ricky had his hand up next.
oh, sorry.
No, what you done? I was just telling Deidre, I'm gonna get to her after.
Okay, all right. I'm done.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think from a governmental standpoint, we don't push the panic button. This is introduction of the ordinance. So we're introducing it to ask the questions and move forward for adoption. So it's not like we having a final say-so tonight. So like, all these questions are very pertinent, and that's what we need to do, is introduce it so we can go ahead and proceed these questions before we adopt them.
Okay,
So that's my thought. I think we're moving in the right track, but I'm like you, I don't wanna kill it in the mud right now. I want these questions to answer before we adopt.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You had your hand
I
up next.
think,
Oh, wait.
Councilwoman Marcotte
I didn't see
had
her.
hers up first.
Okay, well, Councilwoman Marcotte, then thank you. Good.
Okay,
Thanks for helping.
so if there's a car accident and it damages the camera, who's paying for that?
It's all on, that's all of our equipment still. We own the equipment and it's all insured. So we
Okay.
get this question quite a bit.
Okay,
What if somebody shoots the camera or, you know?
There's
or-
that, yeah.
Also, we've had it happen a few times recently. So,
hopefully not here.
it's all, no, it's not here, of course. Well, however,
Man, he got a ticket.
St. Martinville just adopted their, well, they just passed everything last month, so there'll be cameras going in over there. But,
Okay.
it's all covered
Okay.
under us. We carry all that.
Okay, that's good to hear. I saw, if we terminated their contract, it was like $75,000 per system, and I was like, ooh, that's expensive, so I didn't know if it was the same if there was a car accident.
That's for termination on an early,
Right.
yeah, that's just a clause in there to hold the fire at least for something, so we didn't put all this in place
Okay,
and be out.
okay,
Right.
gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. Which no one's done.
And my question
ma'am.
was, instead of accepting the introduction tonight, can we postpone it until our first meeting to get these questions answered?
I mean, you can if you want to. I mean, to me, we're changing the way we normally do business. We normally introduce, we ask all our questions, and then we're not adopting it. We can amend anything we want at the next meeting. But it's up to y'all. That's up to y'all.
Because what'll happen is at the next meeting, or right before we get to the next meeting, when we get our packets on the Friday, it'll be in there. But then if we have some other things that we wanted to, or other questions, then at that point,
This was all in your packet.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's
But
gonna be in the packet.
I understand that the other one had things that Jeff brought that weren't in the packet. This one was
Yeah,
all
this
in.
one, yeah, I understand it was all in the packet, and there's some significant questions from several people that need to be addressed, and he doesn't necessarily have the answers, and it needs to be reworked, evidently. So those questions, I think, need to be answered before, we move this forward, because the next part of it, at the next meeting, would be the adoption, the public hearing and the adoption, boom, together. That's usually the way it goes. So I'm just saying that maybe, since there are a lot of questions, maybe we need to do that introduction at the next meeting with those questions answered and redone.
Okay, Jeff, you had your hand up?
Well, the council can do what the council wants. But, this particular item says the mayor is authorized to sign an agreement, and it refers to terms and conditions that he thinks are appropriate. So you don't marry this particular contract when you approve it. The mayor still has authority to negotiate some things, even after that.
As I have for 6 years, and
But,
we do that all the time.
but the council has the right to postpone it if they want to.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that. I'm not knocking them. They can do what they want,
No,
but
I'm
it's,
just, do what you want, but.
But we have a system that we seem to be changing. In other words, like the CLECO thing, we had a discussion before, then we did this, but we brought new information. When we're not bringing new information, I didn't think I had to bring everything as a discussion and then bring it as an introduction. I thought that the introduction gave us the time to discuss. And then we get our answers and keep moving. I mean, we've amended over the 6 years. The night that we go to adopt stuff, man, we've chopped it up for another hour and amended it and done whatever we need to do to it. But I'm fine either way. But I mean, we often have had questions and things have often changed, the night we introduce it. And I expect that. There's nothing wrong with that.
So clearly I asked a lot of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like me to send you my questions tomorrow, and then that way you can make sure that those questions are answered before you
I
go?
would like them because it helps me when I negotiate.
That's what I'm saying. So I think with,
But I don't want you to stop doing it here. The whole point
no.
of this is where we cut the cow up.
absolutely. No, I'm saying after, like, we're having a discussion.
Sure.
So
do that.
I can send you the question, because I think what Ms. Ledbetter, Councilwoman Ledbetter is trying to make sure is that the question I'm asking are getting answered and possibly being included in the actual contract, like negotiated in the, she wants to make sure it makes it to the contract. And then that way, when she votes on it, she knows that those things have been answered.
It makes it to the
Am I
contract if everybody.
interpreting you correctly?
And
Okay.
it makes it to the contract if everybody agrees. You know, 'cause
Agreed,
sometimes
yeah,
We
she-
might have stuff that everybody will say, oh, that, you know.
Yeah, they don't agree
I
with,
don't agree, but
agreed.
that could happen with anything. you know?
She's just trying to make sure that it's included,
I understand.
yeah. But I'm happy to tomorrow
And
just
I'll-
type
and
up the
I'll do it either way. I
questions.
mean, if you want, if the council wants to postpone it, we'll postpone it, but it just seems like we're on the postponement kick all of a sudden, and that's fine. I mean, I wanna help you and myself do our jobs and move stuff along, so, you know, if I need to change something, I guess is what I'm saying,
No,
you know,
I'm
I'll
hap-
change it, I mean,
I'm happy to type up my questions and send them to you.
okay,
Okay. I'll do that.
all right.
Is that, and then you can, when you talk to them, get the answers.
And I didn't make a motion to postpone.
No, I know, we just having a discussion like we always do,
Not
which is
this
good.
time. I didn't do it this time.
I just could smell it, you know, anyway, it's all good, it's all good.
No, believe me, if I was gonna do it, I would have.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I know that. Who hasn't spoke that has something? Anybody? Next?
How long are the cameras gonna be running? Just during school hours?
Just during school hours. What they could, the LPR cameras will work all the time.
Okay.
But as far as for giving citations,
Giving
it's
citations.
only when the school zones are operating. Only in those hours you see on the signs that the school zones are operating.
So that means that if it's August or July, there's no school going on, but somebody's speeding through there going,
No, because
50.
it's not an active school zone. It's when it's active. It's when school is open.
You actually have the right for, it's a kind of a breakdown on two different things, what you're capable of doing. And this is again, what you decide to do is how you decide to do it, right? The state routes through DOT are only allowed to do it during school hours as far as with the school zone hours, so your 7 to 9, 2 to 4 approximate
Right.
times, right? Your city streets are not underneath their, that's not underneath them. You're allowed to do it whatever you dictate on whenever you want to do them. So that's up to you. But I'm
Okay.
just giving you how you want to do
Yeah,
it.
just
There's
the
your answer on when you can do it,
Just
right?
the school zone
Yeah.
times.
Then
Okay.
that's what you want to do. Yeah.
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 At least to start, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking we would just do this, my personal opinion, and what the chief and I talked about, we would just do the school zone time. Because that's what we're trying to, accomplish. Yes, sir.
I can tell you all this, and Jay hasn't really talked about it yet, but they've already started a study like they promised to do. I can tell you that the study shows that our biggest issue in this town is during school hours. School zone hours,
Yeah.
say it that way. Believe it or not, from 9 until 2 is when people speed the less through the school zones. People speed more, and Laney can pull up the study,
Green.
because they've already started it.
They've done two schools so far, I
That-
think.
If
you
you,
scroll up, you'll see that they did a study from all times from 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. with it broken down from 7 to 9. If you scroll up a little more, you'll see that on those dates, if you look at the first part of 7 to 9, that's the early morning hours of school, 58.8% of the cars sped in the school zone. Look at the hours that's non-school zone hours, only 3% of the people sped.
that's 11 or more. So speeding is
11 or more
considered,
speed limit.
yeah.
Now, that's not just speeding one
Yeah.
over. This is
So they're
11 over.
flying through the, what we're trying to stop is what we need to stop. The data shows they're flying through the school zone when it's a
Yeah.
school zone.
And
We
and
got
a
a
little bit,
problem.
We got a problem.
and a little bit more, if you go down to the next page to the pie graph. Keep going a little bit, right
There
there.
you
Okay, so this is our big thing of what we try to do. It's not just about speeders, it's about aggressive driving.
Wow.
So yeah, if you look at those numbers, it's broken down, you're gonna see 4,000, we're doing
Why are we
11
doing this?
to 14. 2,903, we're doing 15 to 20. Of course, you see 538, we're doing 21 or more over. And most of them are all in school zone times as far as 7 to 9, 2 to 4, because there's only 3%, I think, in the middle of the day, or some pretty low number there.
Think of this as 3 days, Reggie.
Five. It's Monday through Friday.
5
Yep.
days, 538 cars went over 21 miles over the speed limit in a school zone during school zone hours.
Wow.
So what but I'd encourage from my perspective on a public safety side of it, I wouldn't keep delaying this because this is manpower we don't have to put into that school zone and keep patrolling our neighborhoods and allow these things to do what it's supposed to do, which is slow people down when people are bringing their kids to school and when kids are being let out.
Yep.
I think Mr. Broussard could probably contend for, and where the buses are going, with these cars flying by, when school's letting out, 538 cars in a 5-day period are going over 21 miles over the speed limit. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it
In
is.
any zone, not especially a school zone. This is what this is all about. Let's keep our school zones safe. That's what this is all about. This is not about anything else. The contractual thing, look, I understand from Jeff, and what you're doing tonight is approving him to negotiate everything that you want in the contract. Allow the mayor to do it so we can start moving the steps ahead, because the more you prolong it, the numbers will probably, they can stay consistent there, and you always go with the what ifs. One life loss is too many. If somebody does something that hurts a child or hurts a parent picking up their child, that's one too many. And you're always playing that dice of you playing that roulette of when does it happen. I pray that it never happens in our town.
Yeah.
But what if one of those 538 people or the 4,053 hits some parent coming out of an intersection where our school is? That's one too many.
And if you could put the other study on for me, please. This is just, I only had 4 armadillos with me to be able to set out, I know I call them armadillos, you probably, what is that? These radar boxes to put out there, so I was able to get only so much on 4 lanes. But we put these out on, you're gonna know that, if you scroll back up, you can see the name of the school, Center Street Elementary, is that right? Okay, so this one, it's a little bit lower, but the numbers are still pretty, let's put it this way, 500 usually represents a problem, a pretty significant one. Your percentages are lower here because your traffic volume is significantly higher, but your numbers are still considerably high for what we see with the 3,558. So with a program that is aimed to do 94% reduction, we have a lot of work that we're going to be able to do to not make the money, but to reduce speeders. If you remember the last time I'm here, I think I preached that pretty loud. Our goal, we have one goal, and that's to take that 3,558 and drop it as far as we can. And I see that if I can talk about this real quick, I see where there's some questions regarding the contracts, and we completely expect to be able to negotiate going back and forth with contracts. We're a smaller company than what was maybe up here before. We're probably a little more, we're probably a little more flexible, to get some things done. But
That was funny.
our goal is to get through that too. I know that the sooner we can get through these things, and we talk about time, I'm facing time as far as trying to chase down next year start date, because there's so much that has to be done. I'll probably say DOT word up here 5 more times, right? Because permitting process takes quite a bit of time. You're gonna be like, whatever happened to those guys? Well, it's a long time to get permits done. City streets, not so much, but when it comes to your bigger routes here, it's gonna be quite a process for us.
And bear in mind too, that he's talking about is that sometimes it might take 6 months to get a DOT to agree to have them go. So you're looking at 6 months from the day that you approve whatever negotiations you do in the contract. So the more you delay that, that's 6 more additional months added to that time.
We have a lot of
which I think you
schools
can work it out
on
now.
state highways.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot.
Because you're also looking at, we haven't done, the studies haven't been done on North Lewis yet, which you get a lot of complaints about. Also on Daspit Elementary, which I get a ton of complaints
Oh, yeah,
about.
those two are
I'm
gonna be
sure
big
you do
numbers.
too.
Passon
So
Elementary.
We still have more studies to
crazy.
do, because we're gonna do all the schools in the city, Johnson Hopkins, all the schools where we potentially could have someone that is affected by what could be someone taking somebody's life, involved in a major crash. So we have a lot to do. I would encourage you as a council, as my council, to allow that negotiation to take place and all your voices be heard. But we got to get through the process, obviously. So that's just my 2 cents. I thank you for it.
One more comment?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
I just wanted to say that I'm happy we're doing this, because remember, it started from a presentation I gave about speeding.
That
And
So I'm
remember, you tasked me to study which one, and I'll tell you,
Yeah,
and
what we do.
to answer another question.
No,
thought
no,
about it. She
no,
just thought
I
about it.
just,
We
thought
good.
it was a thought, you know.
We good.
And to
I
answer the
didn't
question you-
verbally come out as a postponement.
Right, but to answer the question you had, because you tasked me at that time to do a study and find out what's out there. I'm gonna tell you, all the companies I looked at, Redflex wants your money. All these other companies out there for a money grab. This is the one company that I was able to find that wasn't in it for a money grab. They're in it to slow people down, which is what we're here to do, which is public safety. We're trying to make sure that we minimize the risk of, especially in our school zones, to minimize the risk of something fatal happening, something, life-changing happening to somebody's family. That's what, that was one of your tasks, and you asked me to take it serious, and I did. And this is why we're here at the table.
Yeah, and I always hope to expand it, to other areas in the city, not just the school zones, eventually, but this is a good start.
You mentioned Slidell, I think, earlier in your conversations.
Sure you want to bring that up?
Listening, man.
Yeah, you was.
Well, I'm from Kansas, and I've probably been to more cities than anybody in this room in Louisiana. I know it like the back of my hand, every single town because I've been everywhere, right? I'm getting ready to go into Slidell because of what happened in February with the child that was struck there. We don't chase these schools; they're coming to us for these programs, right? And this means a lot. You asked me in the last council meeting what was the best success story we ever had, and I think you got a quick response from me. It's the one we don't, because this is a preventative measure. We will never know what doesn't take place, right? Because that's what preventative is about. But the police department can only do so much in preventative measure, and we're excited to get, because all this, like I think I said before, all the cities around Lafayette right here are looking at our program pretty heavily. St. Martinville just went, Karen Crow's already going, Crowley, we're working with them, Youngsville, and so forth. So it's a big deal for me this is a great honor to come in here and be a part of this city. I'm excited to get this going.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is definitely not a slam on Blue Line, because, we definitely need the service. But have we checked references for any cities that have actually used them for like a year or so, past the honeymoon period?
Yes.
David Anderson, the chief of Karen Crow's, a friend of mine, colleague.
How long have they had it installed?
Over a year, if not longer, 2 or 3 years.
It's only, I'd say about a year or so. You also have to remember that we started this program in 2020, as
Okay.
far as coming into the state, and then COVID hit,
Yeah.
pretty much sidelined us pretty heavily. I am the only person in this state actively promoting the automated speed enforcement. This is the only like your Redflexes, your ATSs that are currently in other. I'm getting ready to go into Gretna to replace Redflex. I am everywhere in the state, and it's for a reason. Our program does exactly what it says, and therefore the programs that kind of gave us a little bit of the bad names, right? Thinking when I had to go into apartments and I say the word automated speed enforcement, ears turned off. They know what they know, right? ATS over in New Orleans, 4 mile an hour threshold, money grab. That's pretty evident. Not having the lawsuits, right, that were tied in. I think there was an article about some of these things too, right? The lawsuit over there is because there was no due process. There were so many bad things that were happening. And in New Orleans, they don't have any teeth in there, so they only 26% collection rate and 43 million unpaid citations. Again, these are challenges I've had to overcome, and the only way I'm able to do it is have a program that's solid from top to bottom. But we came in here in 2020, and if you can see how many times I go to an agency to visit, I think I've been here 3 or 4 times now. I came strictly from Kansas City yesterday morning just to get here for this meeting, right? That's commitment that you're getting from our company for your programs. But we've just started in the state, but yet we are growing in almost every large municipality. Shreveport, we're doing 80 some school zones in Shreveport. On the 17th of next month in Bossier City, I'm looking at 33 school zones. I'm working with Alexandria on their 10 schools off the top. They're coming through here. Bastrop, let's say Bastrop, West Monroe, those 3 cities. I'm working with all of those. Gonzales, Center, or Central, I keep calling it Center. So I'm working with those as well. So I'm everywhere in this whole state. These programs are going to be, one day you're going to be seeing multiple coming in a month. I'll should be having multiple cities coming in just because it's taking off so quickly. Our company is really booming.
And again, my question wasn't really like directed at whether or not you guys are good. I just wanted to understand, do we check the references for people who've been with you guys longer than a year? Because it's kind of like the whole camera system thing. It was so good, it's too good to be true kind of thing. Just want to make sure that we've checked the references so that we know that we're getting a system that a year later people are still happy with. That's the only reason why I was asking the question, because the whole camera thing, I think we would all say that we're disappointed in the way that turned out.
That's why I want to buy cameras. I don't have a choice.
Okay, everybody taking us back. Okay, Fred, you don't want to open that can of worms.
Just saying.
No, I know. I mean, we want to buy cameras too now. Don't give in.
No matter how I got to pay for them.
No, no,
I mean, I'm not-
we
I'm
want
not
them
dragging
too.
you back to the other issue.
No,
I'm just
listen.
saying, we have a definite need. Ask that man right there.
We agree. We all want cameras.
I know.
We absolutely all want cameras. We also all want the lights on so that,
Oh, yeah,
people
we're
can
not
seize
going
it from a
back there.
safety
Whoa,
issue.
I wasn't talking about lights. I was just talking about
Okay, I'm just saying. But I just want to make sure that, because I think we're kind of disappointed in the presentation we got from the people when we first joined the council.
we were going to get 68
We were going to get
cameras.
68 cameras, and I think how many we have? 8?
Chief, how many we have? 8. Yeah, I know. Oh, look, I'm not, but
So,
it was free.
no,
It was free. I mean, it
exactly. My whole point is just that sometimes these things can be.
don't work out.
Yeah, and so I just want to make sure that the city that, maybe an early adopter is still happy with that decision.
I can tell you that I spoke with Karen Crowe personally.
Okay,
And they say that this company does everything that they say they're gonna do, and that he has seen a reduction in people speeding in the school zone. In fact, he said that it's minimal what they collect at this point. I don't wanna put his business out, but they don't have as many collections as they started with.
If
That's
we
good to
didn't
hear.
do the state routes.
yeah, that's very good.
If we couldn't do the state routes, we would be in trouble just putting them up. And I'm just being open with you.
Yeah.
Because it takes that to keep our cameras
There's gotta
rolling.
be a driver.
Right.
Right, okay. I was just asking, I just want to check on the references.
I did personally check on that one.
Excellent. Okay.
Anybody else? No other discussion? Then I'd ask you to vote your machines. Let's get in there. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk,
God, it's
seven
almost
C.
8.
Introduction of ordinance number 2022-28, authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute a cooperative endeavor agreement by and between the City of New Iberia and the Boys and Girls Club of Acadiana related to the expansion of the Boys and Girls Club at the Weston Park Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center and setting for a public hearing on January 3rd, 2023.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Marlon Lewis and a second by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed. Do we have any discussion?
Is anybody here from Boys and Girls Club?
Nope.
No.
I have one question. Do we have separate utilities over there? Like, can we separate the utilities?
No, we don't. I mean, I guess that we could spend money and do that, but that was kind of,
We're gonna have to figure that out.
yeah.
Because I think I saw something in here about utilities. I read too many contracts over the last few days, but
No, but that's
I
one
might be
that-
getting confused.
In the construction dollars that we have pledged,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking into if I can split that, and so that they would have their own utility bill.
Right, because, I didn't see any problems. I
No,
just
no,
was
we-
trying to figure out,
Yeah, I need.
we don't
this-
want to pay their utility bill.
Right, I need this to say go, and then our architects have started what they could, but that is one of the things they're looking into, because I want them to pay their own utility bill.
Agreed. Okay.
Any other discussion? No other discussion?
I want to postpone. I'm joking.
I was just waiting for that. That was funny.
I was just playing.
Boys and Girls Club.
Ricky, they postponed it. No, I quit. Is there any other
He's
discussion?
gonna have a heart
on-
attack over there.
Okay, then please vote your machines. Thank you. I love y'all, man. I got the funnest job. All right, 7D.
Introduction of ordinance number 2022-29, authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute a cooperative endeavor agreement by and between the City of New Iberia and Freeman's Food and Furniture Incorporated related to the sale of concessions at the Louisiana Pepperplex and setting for public hearing on January 3rd, 2023.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas, a second by Councilwoman Brooke Markcott. Is there any discussion on this item?
So
Yes, ma'am.
why did we pick them? Did we put this out to bid? I mean, was it in the paper? I don't know, however we do this.
No, I negotiated with them.
So no one else got a chance to,
I called a couple of people and I picked a list of 3 or 4. I like their food. I went after a couple of different, and I knew they had a built-in workforce because they all family. I knew they wouldn't let us down, and so I negotiated with them, and they agreed, and I brought it to y'all. That's all I did.
okay, so,
I'm being honest. That's
no,
what I did.
I appreciate your honesty. I guess I'm disappointed because I feel like this is an opportunity to give another business a chance to grow by expanding their footprint to the Pepperplex. And this is a fairly large local company, and we appreciate them, but it was also an opportunity for us to have another company maybe step in and grow by providing this
I
service.
understand that. To me, they were a proven company. They do so much for the community. They sponsor events. They do things all the time. And I knew they had a good, if we're going to kick off the Pepperplex, I felt like I needed somebody that had a long track record of being in the community and that their food was good. Because my whole goal is not to have, canned cheese nachos and,
No, but we have a lot of people here that serve great food.
Oh, we do.
And so I guess,
I know some of them well.
yeah, I know, I voiced my concern.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's why I bring everything here.
So next time you'll maybe put a bid out, or?
Okay. I thought that was a weird one to bid out. I didn't really see it like that, but I can.
Well, we can go and taste the food and what they're gonna. And, see the menu and all of those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Unlike a
Yeah.
wedding reception.
You want to Shark Tank them?
Yes.
That's not a bad idea. See
See?
if they got some vegetarian options. At the
Dustin
Pepperplex, I'm gonna
says-
go to the games. I need
Dustin
options.
says a wedding reception.
Yeah, like you going to sample food for a
I
wedding
think we got
reception.
8 brides.
Yeah, that's right. I'd have 8 brides. Yep, 9 including me. Any other discussion?
How's the Pepperplex looking? I hadn't been in a while.
Good. I mean, they working. They pouring concrete. Starting to put turf down. I mean, it's rolling. There's electrical. We have some issues that some things have to get extended because, of course, we're having supply chain issues with big panels and that kind of stuff. I knew some of that would happen. But they're working. It's moving. I mean, contract is doing everything. We have a monthly meeting, and David Allen's out there every week. And the great thing is Richard's out there constantly. So he reports on, like, the tornado did some damage. Clico had to come out and hire they got Preferred Electric out there to help them, and they redid we lost a lag, so basically half the lights were on. It was all wonky in the concession, but that was related to the winds. And so, that popped up right after the tornado. But I mean, there's always something, and it's an older facility that moms and dads volunteered and put together, so we're always hitting something. There's always some line you don't know this mark. There's always the construction has been, but it's active. It's going well.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a comment about the whole situation with, picking Freeman's. You also got to think about, can they handle the capacity of,
Well, they were the closest. That was the other thing that. I think
right,
one
so
of the
like,
truths
I'm all
right
for
now.
giving, free range to businesses to go and look at, but when you got to also think about, too, they can handle the capacity because they're a larger entity. So that's one thing you got to
No,
take into
I
account
agree.
for as
The other
well.
plus was they could cook in their kitchen and bring it in hot boxes.
Correct.
Because they were so close. But anyway.
Right.
Yes, sir.
No, we was kind of on the same page. You basically brought up, because I'm telling y'all, after Clico, the only thing popped up was Freeman getting the contract to do the food.
Okay, all right.
That popped up to me.
Okay.
He asked the question, and I like Freeman's. I shop there. I would have liked to have seen it more along the lines of like a food festival opportunity to have everybody be able to promote.
Well,
their-
I don't think we can. Richard and I were talking about that the other day. I think that Freeman's will do the concession stand if y'all vote that way. But there's opportunity to bring food trucks. There's opportunity to bring other people. They're gonna be committed to they have to open for all the events. They have to open for all the tournaments. They have to open for anything of any significance and be there running the two concession stands. But that doesn't mean that they are exclusive to anything else.
So the days of the city making money off the concessions.
The city never, look at me. The city never makes
understand.
money
Well-
on concessions.
I
I wish
understand.
they did, but no offense, it's Heather here. I'll say it in front of her, they never make a profit.
Well-
Year after year, they lose money.
The contract says that we get, I guess, 15% of the net profits,
Yes,
but do we pay the utilities? Because that's
Yes.
going, either way, that
Yeah, we do.
net profit.
we do. We do
Okay.
pay the utilities. And actually, it's normally 10% is what, like Richard checked with other ballparks, he's run other ballparks, and normally it's 10%. I asked for 15%. Anybody else?
And nobody else was interested in it, right?
We
Looked
called
like
a
I
few.
heard Bon Creole.
Well, yeah, Richard handled a lot of this, okay, and I want him to, because he's the director. So the first place we went to was Bon Creole.
Okay.
Because they have done that, and they do fairs and festivals and all that, they weren't interested. We tried, there was some interest, I'm not gonna name them, but there was interest in a couple of chains maybe doing it. I was not as thrilled with that, because you would just go to that chain and buy you whatever you're gonna buy.
Right.
I wanted some South Louisiana food. A couple of the chains kind of talked about it, and then they all backed out. And then when Richard contacted Freeman's, they were off the chart excited about it.
Well,
They were close. So that's kind of how that went down.
so I guess for me, I keep thinking this was a great opportunity for a minority business to step in and help and run the concession stand and, provide service, expand their business. And I do think, Freeman has the capacity, but I also think that in order for us to help grow some of our smaller businesses, we got to give them these types of opportunities. So I guess for me, my takeaway would be that, or my feedback would be, in the future, can we maybe open it up to a wide range of people so that everybody gets an opportunity? Because we might have found a gem out there that maybe Richard doesn't know because he hasn't been living in New Iberia that long.
And
I wouldn't
hopefully
be able to-
locally,
Yeah.
from New Iberia.
Right.
Yeah, and I did want to keep it local, whatever we did, because our tax dollars, every local dollar, man, it just
Wanna
spins
turn it
around
over.
again and again, you know? Point taken.
Okay.
And Mayor, I'd like to definitely speak to that. I've been buying food in this town forever as a barber.
Okay?
I'm the plate lunch king, I'm telling you.
He is.
And I'm telling you, and most of the businesses that would be set up to do this, and I'm all for minority business, they locked and loaded on Saturdays in them businesses. So a lot of them ain't leaving them business. I can't get them to come to my wedding, my party. I got friends that own business. We working all the time, so.
But Freeman's not leaving their business either.
What,
So
they
they have you
just
hire
have a
people to
bigger
run that.
capacity.
Right, what
Like he put one of his sons
I'm
on.
not going to go too deep. So, mom and pop is actually mom and pop working in the kitchen.
Not,
Follow what I'm
okay,
saying?
but I still think it was an opportunity
Well, yeah,
to
no,
give them a
not-
chance
not
to
say-
grow.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. What I'm saying is, I ain't fighting for nobody that ain't fighting for themselves. I'm gonna say
They didn't
that.
know.
Well, and some of them I believe are not equipped. They ain't gonna shut down their business to go run a concession stand.
Okay, and you might be right, Marlon, all I'm
And the
saying
one-
is
and the-
that,
and the ones that can, they ain't ready. They'll have to start a whole business just to do concession
But-
stands.
but we're making an assumption about people, we don't know their business plan. And I'm saying we should have, if we had given them, the opportunity wasn't there. All I'm saying is that we should at least have made the opportunity available to everyone. I'm not saying that we wouldn't go with Freeman in the end anyway, but the opportunity wasn't presented to them. And we might have found a gem. You just don't know. And so that was my only feedback for Freddie, and he's good with that.
Point taken. I mean,
Right.
on both sides. I just found a company that to me could handle it, could do because we get one shot at people coming to this facility we spend millions of dollars on and are banking on succeeding. So I thought, the food needed to be good and they needed to be dependable. And that was my only thought. I mean, I certainly wasn't trying to cut anybody out of anything,
No.
but point taken.
But I mean, again,
I understand.
I thought like she thought initially.
Yeah.
Then I started thinking a little deep. I'm like, most of them guys locked in it, you know, that's their livelihood. Their livelihood is their location. You know, so an attempt to tempt them to say, come to this concession stand, to me, that'd be taken away from their livelihood.
And they only did 1 year because they don't know if it's going to work. We might well be back at this.
And either party can terminate on 30 days.
Either party can terminate on
notice.
30 days.
I
So
mean,
this is an experiment that we might well be back, and that's why I'm taking notes. We might well be back, you know, again, if it doesn't work for them. You know?
I think Freeman is a big enough name to be a draw to the park.
I was hoping people would just go there and eat lunch, to tell you
Right.
the truth. I was hoping that, you know, we would get somebody that people would just go eat there. I mean, I think it could be good. Yes, sir.
I would never do
Judge
that.
Ayala? Yes, sir.
I think one of the Freeman boys opened that Chevron, I think on Amador and Center.
Okay.
And he got a big table that he brings Freeman food
Okay.
and sells it at that station every day. There's 7 days a week. I'm satisfied with Freeman's, because I eat out of that little station,
Okay.
because I know it's Freeman's food.
Now we know where you're eating. Okay. Thank you.
Freeman's food. But they spread out already doing that kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
I think they might be able to handle that real
Okay.
easy.
Thank you. Anybody hadn't spoken on this? Anybody got anything else to say? Then I would ask you to please vote your machines. Thank y'all very much. Ooh, we hitting the eights. All right.
8 on 8.
Yeah.
8 on 8 o'clock.
Yep, 8 on 8. 8A.
Ordinance number 2022-30, amending General Ordinance number 304 of the City of New Iberia Code of Ordinances relative to rezoning property owned by Stacy Jolet located at 1319 Hopkins Street from R2 to C4.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Marlon Lewis and a second by Councilwoman Dee Johnson-Reed. We have some discussion? No discussion?
Other than what I know from coming to this planning and zoning meeting, I think they're selling it so somebody can open a new business.
Good, that's a good thing.
Thought that was good for Hopkins Street, another new business.
That's a good thing.
Consider we losing one. The big one.
Oh,
Tesh.
Slumber.
That's lumber.
That's lumber.
Been there a long time.
Yep.
Been there a long time. Any other discussion? Then I'd ask you to vote your machines. 8B.
Ordinance number 2022-31, amending General Ordinance number 304 of the City of New Iberia Code of Ordinances relative to rezoning property owned by Stephen C. Funderburk, SNK Service Station, located at 1323 Hopkins Street from R2 to C4.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Marlon Lewis. I need a second.
Second.
Second, Councilman David Broussard. Is there any discussion on this one?
No, the only thing I discovered with this, again, I can't really plan in the zoning meeting, is that, it's amazing how many businesses in the Hopkins Street area, and I'm sure in other areas, that are businesses, but they zone residential. And, you know, we're gonna definitely have to look at getting these businesses, and we're gonna revitalize or whatever. Because, I mean, if this business would have closed, if the owner wasn't aware, because there's a lot of people that's not aware. You know, they just doing business as usual. They're not aware of what they zone, or they told them and then they forgot along the way. And then when they go to sell or go to move and they're gone for a year or over, then somebody go to open this gas station.
And wouldn't be able to.
They wouldn't be able to.
Yep. Any other discussion? Then please vote your machines. Thank you. All right. Passing the buck for a second.
Yep.
Ricky.
All right, so we'll move on to 8C. Lane, please read it.
Ordinance number 2022-32, an ordinance revising the City of New Iberia Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, zoning, Article 1, Statement of Purposes, Section 1.4, application of district regulations in unison with ordinance number 2022-23, adopted by the New Iberia City Council on November 1st, 2022.
I do have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Swear and second by Brooke Marcotte. Any discussion on this item?
I kind of
Mr.
Want some
Mr. Lewis?
clarification on what it is.
Okay, Jane, could you give us a little clarification on this one, please, ma'am?
Sure. This is just a follow-up of the ordinance that you adopted previously and we discussed earlier about the emergency declaration by the presidential for disasters. And so this is a section of the zoning ordinance that was also affected, that needed to be changed. And so this is a change to the zoning, Appendix A zoning. And so I guess based on your previous discussion about state-designated emergencies, that we may need to look at another revision or revising this one to reflect whatever your decision will be coming.
Okay, yes, sir.
No, I'm good, thank you. Anybody?
Is there any other discussion on this one? Hearing and seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank you all very much.
And Merry Christmas to each of you.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Now we're gonna move on to 9A.
Discuss the correspondence received from Parish President M. Larry Richard regarding the termination of the rabies control contract between the City of New Iberia and Iberia Parish Government.
Okay, Laney, hit it. Okay. See these dogs? That's what this is about. All right? Yes, it's about our community, but it's about our dogs. These dogs have all been in the last year and a half that we've had complaints about, okay? So I just put them up for a second because I thought it was cool. All right. I'm going to go over all the items of this, and then we'll open it up for discussion because I was as surprised as you were. I have a letter that I received from the parish president that says as of February 28th of 23, they no longer want to serve as our shelter or pick up our dog, okay? So that's a huge issue. The parish president and I have had discussions about this in the past, but I didn't see this coming, that we would have a deadline of February 28th. So we have to deal with it. A little background, this contract has been in place since 1986. We paid $21,000 a year to have 7 kennels, and that worked from 1986 to very recently. Parish president and I had discussions. We work well together. We talk all the time. That it wasn't working, and I said, well, it's not working for us either. This was in March of this year because we're not getting the service that we feel we need. You remember Erica, the director, came. They talked about adding to the shelter. We talked about giving more money. We talked about working together. She made some changes that I think were great changes. The lady runs a really good program. They ship dogs out instead of euthanizing them. I mean, they are doing the best they can. At that point, parish president and I went into negotiations. We went from $21,000 to $91,000 a year. I felt that that additional money would get us a person in town, and that's kind of what we talked about, that we would have someone in town providing better service in our community. We even prorated it and paid since January of this year. Well, in November, I realized in October and November that this might change, okay? Parish president and I discussed things like we always do. Says, you know, the money's not right. As you see in his letter, they don't have the space. They have staff shortages. He told me one of his people have 1,200 hours of comp time. You know, his people were at the breaking point and they were ready to quit, okay? So, but I didn't see this letter coming with this, you know, this date. In addition to that, I took the time to look at the money, okay? So, we pay $91,000 a year. But, and there's a but, I have a copy of their budget from last year because we found it online. They also charge our citizens a tax. It's the health unit tax. The old people used to call it the rabies tax. The city of New Iberia pays, our share of that is $126,000. Okay? But the tax is parish-wide. We pay $126,000. You can look in their budget. They are using that money to run the shelter. So when you take $126,000 plus the $91,000 we now pay, and you divide it by their $477,000 operating cost, that puts us that we're paying 46% of the overhead of that shelter. And remember that number. If you take the 75,000 number of the citizens in the parish, and you take our number of 28,555 people, and you divide it out, we are 40% of the population. If you look at our number of dogs, we're all dog people. I bet and I'm going to do that before we run. We're going to see who has pets, okay? Well, we contribute 50% of the dogs to the shelter. Erica told us that when she came. So we're paying 46%, and we put in 50% as an average, okay? So we're pretty close. We're just about paying for everything that the services we're getting. But when I asked the parish president, do I just pay more money? You know, tell me what it is. I need to come up with that 4% difference or even a little more than that. I'll pay a little more than my fair share because we need better services. We need to get our animals out of here. The ones that need to be, and we need to take care of them. We need to find them a home. We don't want to euthanize them, but, you know, we have issues. We need to take care of those issues. Money wasn't an issue. It was, I got a letter that says I quit. So I'm here tonight to begin to discuss options, all right? So first thing I did is I used my skill set. I've already built some dog shelters, so I designed a dog shelter. I said, okay, where am I going to put the dog shelter? Remember, they're noisy. There's a lot of coming and going. There's a lot of traffic. Unfortunately, people try to drop dogs. We'd have to put cameras there because people try to just drop dogs off time to the gate and run, you know, and it is about the dogs. So the only spot I could find, Pepperplex is here. We have plenty of room to develop on that side. Sewer plant's here. Remember, we need the sewer plant, okay? Dogs produce a lot of product. If you go to the right, there's cane field. In that cane field that the city owns, yes, we'd have to buy some crop, and we all know about how that works, but that's a spot we could put it. There aren't a lot of houses there. The noise would work. Once a month, we could have a hell of an adoption program of bringing those puppies to the Pepperplex, which is right across the way. So if we had to do one, that's the spot to do it. How much will it cost? Because that's what everything we talk about. Okay? The upfront construction cost is about $1.8 million. And then I got to get a couple of vehicles. We actually have the old dog catcher cage that we took off a truck that the sheriff gave me, and I got rid of the truck, but I kept the cage. So the vehicles we'd have to buy, you'd end up with about a $2 million upfront cost. I'd say $2.1 million. The operation and maintenance, the salaries would be $305, and the expenditures would be about $106. So the yearly operating budget would be $411,000. And that's coincidentally, I found their work around the same time, and their budget from last year was $477,000 parish-wide. So that let me kind of validate my numbers. Then my task, as always, is to find a way to pay for it, okay? If we have to go that route, I have a way to pay for it. And what we would do is take money from the 1960 tax can pay for any permanent public improvement. So we would take the $2 million from there and pay for it. Now, if you remember, we pledged a lot of that money to go towards sewer because we're spending $11.9 million of sewer this year. Not a problem. Checked on an SRF loan for the sewer for $55,000, which is very cheap. It's 0.95% interest. You can get $1 million. So if we borrowed $2 million, that would be $110,000 that would go towards sewer, and we would keep our cash, and that's how we would pay for a new dog shelter. Now, the $400,000 operating costs, we'd have to come up with, and we'd have to look at how we would pay for that out of our general fund. But it's not out of the realm. So that's one possibility. Another possibility.
Well, Freddie, excuse
Yes.
me, how many dogs could we house at that type of facility?
Well, if you did 40 kennels right off the bat, and they were 5 foot wide by 15 foot long, and then they had a door that leads out and another 10 foot by 20 foot run, and 2 kennels would share the run. That's an economical way to do it. And you put 3-4 dogs in a kennel when you had to, you'd have pretty many kennels. I mean, you'd have a good capacity. So I estimated 40 kennels, but then you got to have the cat condo because you got to take care of the cats. And those cages are much smaller. State statute says they have to be 2.5 square feet a cage, which is really nothing. So if you got a 2 foot by 4 foot cage, you know, that's almost double what they need. So I looked into some of them, and you would stack those, and those would need to be air conditioned. So we'd have an area for the cats, an area for the food storage, an area for an office in the front. You would end up employee-wise, because like I said, I want to tell you all everything. You would end up employee-wise, let's see, I got that in here somewhere. Give me a second. Okay, you'd have a department head. Well, we all know all my department heads make $55,000, so you would have a department head. You would have 2 dog catchers that would work in shifts so that you always had a dog catcher. I don't think you need 2 at once. They can go single. You'd have 2 people who clean and feed and work with the dogs, because one of the problems is with most shelters, the same people who clean and feed have to go catch the dogs. Okay, well, I looked at it differently and said, no, I'm gonna have 2 people that stay at the shelter. You'd have 1 office person, and then, of course, you gotta figure insurance, retirement, I put all that into consideration. So, that would be our staffing. Okay, so that's one little thing that we look at. Is it long-term? Yes. Could we design that and build that by February 28th? Well, there's no way. So any way you look at it, we would need more time with the existing shelter. And then if you look at it, and there's a whole lot of things everybody's going to bring up. What about the $100,000? If we quit paying the $91,000 because we would do our own shelter, our citizens are still paying the $100,000 as part of the health unit that is going to the dog shelter. So, would the parish, divert that money to something else that our citizens get something out of the deal? Because that's who we represent. Would it still go to the dog shelter that we don't have anything to do with now? That's a big question. Is it out of the realm that we negotiate a new contract? Maybe it's not. I got a letter that I have to act on that says we quit. On the flip side, it ain't over till it's over. So another option to me is that we go back to parish government and say, to the parish president and say, we need to negotiate. We know we would need to negotiate to have time to build a shelter, or maybe we negotiate a new price that it stays the way it is. But it seems at this point that, they're giving me the signal that that's not what they want. So I have to look at, our services, and that is certainly an important service. So, that's kind of where we are. So to me, we have 3 options. First of all, we got to get more time, and that's not an option because we'll have no services as of February 28th. The next one is we try to negotiate something further. I don't mind doing that. That's what I do. And the third choice is we build our own shelter and we go in the shelter business, which in the long term, as a city our size, we probably should have a shelter. We probably should be in the shelter business. We will always have 50% of the dogs in the parish because we got almost 50% of the people. So long term, and I'm all about solving, as y'all have been, as my counsel before, we have been about solving problems and looking long term. So the long-term solution probably is you build a shelter. Do I need another department head and a whole other department? Am I buying a lot of headaches in a way? Yeah, I am. I got a lot of headaches. I love them to death. I got a lot of headaches when the police came back. In other words, that was a job that, no offense, Todd, that was a job that, a few mayors didn't have. So did it add to the workload? Yeah, it did. Did we need a police department? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Will the shelter add to, my staff and the problems and the calls and, you picked up the wrong dog. God forbid you euthanize the wrong dog. I mean, you could have issues. Is it noisy? Do they never quit? Right around our town, we all talk about the loose dogs that we have. They will never quit coming. So it's a business that once you start, you can't get out of. They do ship dogs around the country because other areas have much different laws than us. I love that. That's what we would try to do. But that's, to me, our 3 choices. But again, I don't drive this ship by myself. So what I did was, you can stop the dogs. What I did was put it on an agenda. Yeah, it's kind of driving me crazy. Was put it on an agenda, get it out here where we could have a discussion and kind of start thinking about what our options are.
As a
Yes, ma'am.
temporary solution, could we maybe make a deal with a different municipality?
I thought of that when we started the police department. And look, Larry was good that he kept the contract going from '86, okay? We had a police department to build, and dogs were not our highest priority then. We had major crime. So I had reached out to Angel Paws. I had reached out to some other municipalities and said, well, if I have to start it, I'll get a dog catcher and I'll bring the dog somewhere else. Every one of those shelters said, we can't handle it. In other words, they're all full too.
Okay.
South Louisiana, we traditionally have a lot of we dog people. So, or cat people, whatever. So I don't think that's an option.
Okay.
Believe me, I'm gonna run the traps on that again, but all of them said, we can't handle what we have. So I don't know that that's an option.
Okay.
But good thought, because I thought the same thing, and if that would work, we'd just truck them over.
Yeah.
So, yes, ma'am.
Are we able to have inmates perhaps feeding and giving water and cleaning the kennels during the day?
I don't think so, because then I gotta supervise them. In other words, that's, nothing's free. So if we get a couple inmates over there, I gotta have police officers over there too. Yes, sir.
Yes, because with DOCs, you have to ask a correctional officer to maintain them,
Yeah.
to watch them.
Okay.
And I'm,
So you can't
So
just
you'd
have
have an
animal
employee
shelter
there
person watching.
anyway?
no. And then, I like our inmates, okay? You get what you pay for.
Gotcha.
You know, and they not work. They working to get out of the jail, okay? But you know, they are in jail. You get what you pay for.
Inmates at the
Okay.
Pepperplex.
Well,
That's the
yeah,
other
good
thing.
point.
That's not a place to put them. I mean, I've had some workers I would like to shift to the Pepperplex, and I thought they can't be around families,
Right.
much less some inmates.
And do we know if there's any grants?
We will look, and Jane has already kind of looked at that. I always go down the road that I'm paying for everything, and I get creative with how I'm going to pay for it. And then if we, I don't refuse grants, so that is an option. I don't know that you can build one. You can get enough money to build a shelter, but certainly there are some grant opportunities we'd have to try to take advantage of.
Okay, yeah, because this is
Oh, it's a big undertaking.
an interesting predicament to be thrown into suddenly.
It is.
I just can't imagine not having anywhere to bring a dog that bites a child.
Right.
know,
Well,
just-
and like I said, nothing's over yet. This is the beginning. It's kind of like all our other stuff. It's the beginning.
Yeah, termination just,
But,
seems
Okay,
so
one
final.
little joke. I can't postpone this. I got a letter, a registered letter. So anyway,
Okay, I'm done for now.
anybody else?
So do we have a
Yes, ma'am.
policy of not euthanizing dogs?
We do not, and there are times that dogs have to be euthanized by state law, that they've bit somebody more than twice, and there are times that you cannot empty your shelter, and you do have to make those decisions. I think that you make it the minimum you can. You put good policies in place that are shipping those dogs up north, that you run adoption programs. I put some money in the budget for promotions because, and what I meant by that was to try to attract people to adopt. I don't think you can start a shelter and say, I'm never going to kill publicly. I mean, we are tax dollars. I don't think you can start it and say, I'll never kill an animal. I think you say, I'll make every effort not to.
Right, I mean, this is probably not gonna win me any friends, but this is a problem that's being created by our citizens, our residents, because a lot of them, they have dogs, they leave them, they don't have collars, or dogs have puppies, and then those puppies are running wild,
Oh, I
and now we got
I agree. Or
10,
they trade
15,
the old
so-
dog in because the Christmas puppy's coming. I mean, I've
Exactly.
heard every kind of story in a book, you know?
And I say that only because I want the citizens to understand that this is a problem that they can help us with, because now we're gonna have to take tax dollars, and we're gonna have to use it to shelter dogs, that if the citizens actually were, in some cases, a little more responsible with the dogs that they own, then we could take that money and divert that to services to them other than catching dogs.
Well,
So-
I've been looking online at spay and neuter ordinances that some communities have, and they get tough with that. If you're a breeder or it's a specific, registered kennel dog or whatever, you can't make them do it. But there are ordinances in place in other communities that tighten up on, just.
Yeah. Then we should probably look into something like that, because I see, like,
Well, I was waiting to see, what
Puppies
direction we go in.
everywhere.
Yeah, well, we kind of have them now.
If you can't afford to spay or neuter your animal, you shouldn't have them. And I know people don't listen to that, but that's a major issue.
Yeah, and there are some dogs that, you are going to want to breed it, or it's a registered dog. I can understand that too, that you wouldn't do it in that case.
But these are mutts everywhere.
Yeah, we got a lot of mutts. We do. Our whole town's full of mutts.
I mean, how many did we see when we were cleaning up Hopkins Street?
And look, I thought of that, and I took a picture of those two hounds, and I couldn't find it quick enough. But yes, I mean, we saw probably 3 or 4 dogs running around. Those 2 hounds that were very good-looking dogs at one time. They were not healthy.
Yeah.
But, they were after the garbage man. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's one that hangs out at Weston Park. So when we're
Yes.
out there playing pickleball, the lady said, play pickleball with me. I don't say anything to them, but they're going to hear this. They actually bring treats to the dog, so he's never leaving.
If you feed it, you own it. And that
Yeah.
is something that the chief and I were talking about, because he's actually run a dog shelter. And if you feed it, it's your dog. We're not picking it up because you're feeding it.
Well,
You have to make strict policies.
You do.
That if you're gonna go into this adventure, Because and I'm gonna give you a compliment at the same time. This council and this mayor has always gone above and beyond in the ventures they've gone into, you guys have gone into. And when you do that and do it right, per se, as the mayor and I discussed earlier, a lot of people will be ringing your phones for animals because there is a ton of animal lovers, so am I. And, you know, the no euthanize policies and those types of things, there'll be some things coming to you that, you know, where we had no euthanize policy in Jennings to some extent, but dangerous dogs don't fall into that, and there's other things that don't fall
I
into that.
don't want us to have that policy.
So, you have certain exceptions, but, you know, there is a lot that goes into it, because again, you've been sitting behind this city and representing your people in a sense that you're gonna do it the right way, which means there's gonna be more demands of what's not being done at this current period of time. So you're gonna have a lot of stuff, what's not being done now, being demanded of you to do. And there is a lot of stray animals in our city.
Yeah.
And with that comes financial responsibilities and worker responsibilities and those types of things, because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people don't know about, because, you know, we did have, when I had the animal shelter in Jennings, that we had vouchers with veterinarians that would do the neuter and spades and those types of things. We had the humane way to put down an animal that was vicious, where it's euthanized, and all those gas chamber days are long gone, you know. So there's things that go into that, and there's costs associated with those things. And then you're dealing with, not only that, you deal with possums and other animals that the animal control is gonna pick up. There's gonna be, you know, with roadkill per se,
Yeah.
that they're gonna be responsible for. There's freezers there's a lot that goes into this, because I know that you ladies and gentlemen will wanna do it the right way. You're gonna incur more cost than you're thinking about.
And I believe that because I got the copy of the state statutes that Laney dug up for me of running a shelter, and it's, you know, 4 pages, and there's a lot to it, you know, there is.
So I don't want you to think that this is like, just.
Oh, I'm not-
Build it and, because the mayor's done a pretty good job of laying out the cost. I'm gonna tell you that you're gonna pay every penny of that.
I think so too, and I'm worried with where our bids come back and everything else will be even more than that. I mean, my hope is that there is a chance to renegotiate, and I will try to open that door. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I mean, you know, I can't, I do wonder about what's gonna happen with that $100,000 that we would be paying toward that. I mean, you know, and there's no indication they're quitting any other town. You know, it's just New Iberia, because we are 50% of the dogs and 40-something% of the population. So, you know, I have questions about the whole thing. It hasn't gone to the parish council yet. I don't know if it, you know, I can't, and maybe, you know, their government's different. I can't write a letter and quit anything without y'all. I can't enter into anything without y'all. I mean, we have these processes that take hours and hours, and they should, to allow me to do something. So I don't think it's over yet, but I just need to bring it, and I got no better place to bring it than a council meeting. That's what these meetings are for. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
So I think a couple different options I've been doing a little kind of research on, but, and I may be wrong, but, you know, Lafayette Parish provides animal control for all the municipalities at 1/12 cost. They do it for their municipality, for Youngsville, for Scott, for Broussard, do it all. Franklin, St. Mary Parish does for all their municipalities. I'm not fully aware of any other parish in the state that picks and chooses one municipality that it doesn't do service for. I think Crowley might have its own. I think they're the only one in the state. So it makes me wonder why the parish government just picks and chooses the city of New Iberia and wants to throw them out, knowing very well that we have no, what are we gonna do with all these dogs on the 28th? I mean, they just gonna be running around the city and nobody, we have no options. So it's just kinda, I think the letter should have been a little bit more sensitive, said, you know, we'll
dogs
give
don't know where
you
the
a
boundaries
period
are.
of time to develop some kind of program, but no, February 28th, your dogs will stay in the street. So that tells me that I live in the city limits, you live in the city limits,
Well, we all do.
we all live in the city limits. They're not gonna pick up your dog come February 28th, and you paying taxes. It's not, it's just, that just does not sit well with me. I think you need to negotiate at a better angle and be more representative of the whole, because every time you talk to M. Larry Richard is that the city of New Iberia lies within the parish of Iberia. He represents the city. Well, my friend, you just didn't represent the city by throwing the dog shelter back in the city's plate. Can we fix the problem? Absolutely. This council can fix the problem. Do we want duplicated services for a town this size, I'm not a guy with duplicated service. I think one shelter can benefit this whole parish. But am I willing to go on a limb and do something like the mayor? Sure. I'd like to renegotiate and try to get it fixed another route, like the mayor wants to do, but I think it was pretty, and I think it's pretty chicken shit to throw this out there. I really do. Because you cannot fix a dog control problem in 35 days. You can't do, that's a major undertaking to try to control your animal population in the city. So come February 28th, if we get 10 kids bitten, and we have no place for them, what are we gonna do? We're gonna start shipping dogs to they're not gonna take them. So I think, we gotta get back to negotiation. We gotta get it right. And if it costs the city more, possibly us employing a warden or whatever it takes, I'm the one that I think a spade and neuter program is essential. I think I'm always a guy that likes a solution to a problem. If we do have to build our own shelter, I would think it'd be mandated we have a spade and neuter program to control our population long term. That's essential.
That's why
And
we're looking at those ordinances.
maybe even that's a negotiating tool that we're gonna come up as a council, have a spade and neuter program if we continue to do services with the parish. I really do. I think, that's some things we can offset the population, bring down the cost long term. But this is a problem. I get calls on it all the time, and you guys get calls, and our constituents don't want to hear the word no. They want it picked up. They want it addressed, and it's unfortunate. It's a problem that we're going to have to deal with. So, do I want to build a shelter? If that's what we choose to do, is it going to cost us? It's going to cost us an arm and a leg, and it's going to be detrimental to it. We're going to have to, like the mayor said tonight, we're going to have to do without something in our budget to accommodate the dogs in our city. And if that's where we have to go, then we'll move that route. But I think that going down the line with this health unit tax, I was fully aware of what they're spending in a dog shelter. I think that needs to be held accountable for the city residents, because that's the city residents' money. And if it's gonna be allocated to pets, then it needs to be allocated to our pets, not the parish pets. But I think there's a lot of talking points moving forward. I would hope that the mayor involves us in our discussions, and that, we come up with some solutions to the problem, not just reissue another contract. I think animal control and population control is essential. I really do.
What I have learned tonight is this council wants to negotiate, so this is another one. Send me whatever you got. If you got an idea, believe me, on this one, I'll take it. Yes, sir. I'm gonna go around.
A lot of parish council members live in the city.
7 of them.
There's half of them or
Represent,
more, if
some part
not
of the
more,
city.
live in the city. I think we should send a letter to all the parish council members pertaining to this a little bit, to see what their idea is. It's not just one person, we all put in this predicament. So maybe that's an idea we talk about even tonight, if we could okay something for you to send a letter to the whole council. That we're willing to negotiate some more and come up with we just doubling the problem. They have one place, let's make it bigger. If we have to put a little bit more money in it. But other parishes having trouble with this?
Everybody's
Other
having trouble.
parishes having big trouble with this?
Yes, every shelter.
I think if we
To the
can
limit.
keep it all in one place for the whole parish. That's just my idea, but I think we have to involve the whole parish council, because a lot of them live in the city too. They can see what we're absorbing. So if there's any kind of way that could be, maybe you could get a letter going to the whole parish council. Each one has a letter pertaining to what you're thinking, sir, or we thinking. And that might be a way out to keep it one, not duplicating.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna ask, we've never owned a shelter, right?
Yes.
We have?
In the past, we did. It was across from Taco Bell on,
Right behind my
Dog
parents'
Pound, Big
neighborhood.
Stack.
It was behind my parents' neighborhood.
Bank Street
When I was a
Park.
kid, that's where it was.
So we had, and actually, we tried to partner with the parish one other time that it fell apart.
I remember that.
And then we had our
That was a
own,
long time ago.
our own dog pound. So this has been tried before, but the city got in the dog pound business because it needed to, because at one time, it didn't work as a combined thing.
So
Because
when
when
did
people
they,
consolidated the police department, I used to say, ha, y'all couldn't even run a dog shelter together, how the hell you gonna do law enforcement? I just remember that. But,
That's my first, another question. So we had a dog shelter, I remember the dog pound.
yeah.
And then, isn't this like collateral damage or remnants from us losing the police department in 2004?
Well, we had this dog shelter arrangement since 1986, long before we lost the department.
I understand that.
So we already had the agreement to do this together since '86.
All right.
What has happened is the police coming back for 4 years have done a better job of dangerous dogs, of bringing attention, of calls, of officers calling in. We got a dog. We got this and that. Our officers had a lot of encounters with dogs because we have many more officers and presence in town than we had before. So it might have added to the problem or added to the awareness, if you will. But I thought the same thing, and then when I realized the contract was in place since '86, the PD was around. The breakup didn't occur till like '04.
04.
So much later.
Right, but from after '04, they didn't really have a dog catcher that was. Did the sheriff provide?
They had a dog catcher in town because actually when the sheriff left, I don't know why, but he gave me the truck. So scrounge that I am, I wanted the truck to go. I didn't have any money when I got here. I wanted the truck to go to Public Works, I think, and then I wanted to steal the dog catcher cage because I didn't know if we ever would need it. So when he said, "You want this junk truck?" I said, "Yeah, only if I can have the aluminum cage on the back." So the cage is at Public Works, just in case I ever needed it,
Right.
because I didn't know what was going to happen when we brought back a PD. But the sheriff did it. They had a guy who was assigned just to town.
Okay, yeah, I remember
And he picked
the
up
old
dogs.
dog
And he
catcher.
picked up dogs. I mean, they actually, I think, picked up more. If you want to know the truth, I think they did a pretty good job.
I tell you what else. What else I noticed, man, and looked like them dogs got real bad after that dog fighting got real popular. Cause I know these guys, they would sell pit bulls, and they had a scam where they were selling dogs that looked like pit bulls, and people just let them loose. They didn't want to kill them, so they'll just let them loose. It's funny to me, but if you look at most of them dogs that's out there right now, all of them look like they could have been a fake pit bull when they were young. So they created that, but I'm serious. The dog fighting game created
The dogs.
it created an epidemic. I can't tell you how many times people got scammed out of a puppy that was supposed to be a pit bull. They had these names, Boudreaux and this and that, and Gators, and and they'll come back a month later when the dog developed, and they said, "Man, I got scammed." I mean, there was a lot of that going
After they
on.
got attached to it.
You remember that
Why
kind of
people
stuff?
buy pit
And I
bulls
bet you
blows my mind.
that made the dogs just kind of
Yeah.
straight dogs. You know, that's one of the causes I know for sure. But we not talking about causes, we talking about solutions.
Yes.
Ricky took the words out of my mouth, so good job.
Okay.
Even with the chicken poop.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So, when the PD came back, was there any discussion that we would eventually have to take over our dog services?
Not really. Not really.
'Cause, I mean, I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
Right.
Was there an expectation that at some point we're going to take our dogs back?
There was probably an expectation along the way that we might end up with a dog catcher. Okay, but the catcher's not the problem. What the problem is, when I read the letter and when I talk to our parish president, it's the housing.
It's the
Right.
jail.
It's the doggy hotel. I mean, it's full.
No.
So I think that we did talk in the past, and that's why I kept the truck. That's why I grabbed that cage, because I thought at some point I would end up with a dog catcher. But the problem is on the opposite end. It's housing them. It's the overhead of how. Now I don't quite understand if their budget is $477,000 and they're going to give up $91,000 immediately. Maybe they were hoping to keep the health unit money, and it is a parish tax. I can't tell them to make it go away. But if they're money short and they can't do any more because they're money short and they say leave, well, we're for sure taking on $91,000. So, that just makes their problem worse, I think.
Well,
But I guess they feel like
they
I'll
feel
have
like
so
we're gonna
many
take-
less dogs.
Yeah,
You know.
50% of the dogs are going to
Yeah,
go with
yeah.
us, so they'll probably make money now.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to mention, I did reach out to a parish councilman, and he reached out to others, and they know nothing about this letter.
Oh, I know
I mean,
that.
they do
Well,
now, but they knew nothing
The-
about this letter.
The reason I brought it, because I talked to a lot of our parish councilmen, we have great working relationships, and I realized that they didn't. Well, it's gotta be public. We're both public bodies and everything we do is public, so I basically told the parish president, I'm putting on my council agenda, cause I want my council's input. I don't do anything without y'all. So I said, I want to talk to them first. It goes without saying that I would try to, negotiate something, but I wanted to have a plan, and so, I wasn't coming here without a plan. So plan A is, to me, if y'all agree, is to continue to try to negotiate. Plan B is some hybrid, and I don't know what yet. And plan C is, well, we go into the dog shelter business. And I at least have that fleshed out. I have a way to pay for it. I have a place to put it. I mean, that's all big steps. So, but the whole point of this was to get it out there to y'all. And well, now if a parish councilman didn't know, they're gonna know after tonight. And some discussions will start, I hope.
So I guess the parish council doesn't have a say-so then.
I don't know how their government works. Again, I can't quit anything without y'all, and I can't start anything without y'all. Now, if parish government's different, it's different, but in my the way this works, you never see me send a letter to anybody saying I quit or, hey, I'm doing this without it coming here, because I can't. I don't have that authority.
Especially a service like this.
So I don't know, I just don't understand, that's a.
The little clarification, I think, on the parish that was an approved contract by the council, so to amend or alter a contract, it takes approval of the council to amend or alter a contract, if I'm not mistaken. But he still can send a letter and bring it to the council.
Yeah.
But like he can't actually cut us off without their approval?
Well, the other thing,
There's a fine
okay.
line.
Exactly.
We
the
paid
same.
our bill.
I don't believe that they don't know about this letter.
One more.
They don't?
Oh, no, I know.
I
know
believe
some
my
of them
parish
don't.
councilman did not know.
No,
I
I'm just
truly
saying,
believe that.
I know some of them.
It might be
did not.
day-to-day operations.
Like
Now, the
everything
other
else
thing I
is
forgot to
this
tell
service.
y'all is, we
Yeah.
pay quarterly, okay? I got the bill, which is the time to get it. I got the bill last week to be paid January 1. And he cut the bill off on February 28th as well. So he quit in the letter and he quit in the bill. So he's right now saying, don't pay me anymore, and he prorated the time that I wouldn't pay for. But he did the bill from January 1 to February 28th. So, yes, ma'am.
So if services are gonna be terminated in February, at the end of February, what is he gonna do with the dogs that he currently houses for us?
I don't know. That's another good point.
Another good question.
That's another good question. Thank you. I don't know.
You can't let them
Hopefully
out.
don't turn loose on Justin Terry. huh?
Bank Street.
No,
I'm picking.
because it'll be right down the street, Broussard.
I don't know nothing about
He
the
would never
dog
do that.
law, but I don't think he could legally let those dogs out.
He wouldn't do that.
And he
I don't think he would ever do
I don't
that.
think he can legally do that.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I don't think he would do it,
I
period,
like that.
though.
That's a good question.
I can't say,
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
like the legal part. I'm saying, I don't think he can legally do it.
Right.
Because we never know what anybody would do.
I would be surprised, let me put it this way, I would be surprised if he took that route.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised, because he's,
It's a
More
very
professional.
unique predicament that the city's in.
It is.
Yeah, but the whole point of that, if your bill is being cut off, the money that we paying to take care of the dogs will
Right.
be
Oh, yeah,
gone.
no.
So,
He'd still have the 100,000 from the health.
yeah,
tax that's
but not the 90,
But not the 91. I
you
don't-
know?
I don't-
Maybe he thinks like Clico. Maybe he won't just turn it off on the 28th. Huh? He'll give us like 90 days, huh?
Oh, well, we're gonna have a program.
hey, Clico would disconnect right away.
You think that's what's happening?
No, you would not get any extension. Clico would be like, you're out, lights out.
We're moving upstream now.
Yeah.
Going back.
See, they're going back.
Go back.
So I guess, all right, if February 28th rolls around, and we have to have a solution, do we have somewhere somewhere in the city that we could house some dogs, if we catch a few?
I have looked and looked, and there's so many requirements. That's why we pulled up all these regs. It is not a quick fix. In other words, you're breaking laws, you're doing all kind of stuff if you just start grabbing dogs.
There's humane ways to house an animal. You gotta clean cages.
Oh,
you
yeah, I
gotta-
mean, there's
a lot to
a
it.
bunch of requirements. And then the other thing is, I looked, of course, like I always start, at city-owned property. And the only place we had that was the possibility was that cane field on the other side of the Pepperplex, because it was isolated.
Well, how long would it take to build?
Oh, design and build, you need 9 months to a year.
Yeah, at least
Okay.
You gotta put a road in, you gotta do, it's a major thing. You don't have to go too far into the cane field, but you gotta get far enough that it's a buffer.
Okay, so we're
So
talking
my
about a
first-
year.
My first thing is, I'm gonna go back, I wanted to have this publicly, I'm gonna go back to the parish president and say, I can't, you pull the plug on February 28th, we both got a mess. okay? Help me help both of us, all right? I need an extension so we can figure out what we're doing. In the meantime, but I do everything in a system. In the meantime, I do plan on calling Angel Falls again. I do plan on calling the other shelters just to see, because it's been 3 years, 4 years since I did that, just to see if there's any, any way, if actually the 28th, we don't have a place to put them, is there somebody I can pay to help us, okay? So I'm gonna flesh that option out. I'll flesh out negotiating out. I'll continue to flesh out, because I like that, I'll continue to flesh out my cost and my design and everything on a new one. Just so I know. Already got sketches, or, I came with a budget based on something, or I already sketched one out. I'll continue to look at that as I can. That's not the main focus right now. The main focus is what do we do after February 28th? So I'm gonna work on that, but I didn't wanna do that till I came to y'all first. That's how I operate. And won't quit operating that way.
Well,
If
do
you
you
have any
have,
suggestions, you can send them to me, because I've fleshed out 3, and that's really all I got.
do we have some flexibility to sweeten the deal, to get an extension?
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, because I know what we're
Okay.
gonna spend. In other words, my thing is, I know what we're gonna spend to do it. I have my stopping point. There'll come a point that I'll just say, I'd rather go build it.
No, I'm
There is a
saying-
point that I'm not gonna pay good money after bad, when I know I can go get $2 million for $110,000 a year.
No, what I'm asking is, do we have something to sweeten the deal to get an extension to build, so we
Oh, yeah.
could
Well,
build
I'm
for, we
trying
need a
to-
year?
My first move is to pay more money, even though I like it. My first choice, I gotta make, good decisions for our city. My first choice is to try to negotiate and pay more money and not build one, okay? That's my first choice. Don't know if it's gonna work. My second choice is to say, okay, I'll pay more money for an extension, but now I feel like you twisted me, because I have to go build one. So I'm not willing to pay as much as I'm willing to pay if we don't take it. If we have to take it, I am willing to pay more to house the dogs, for a year while I would build. And my third choice is to build. But don't back me in a corner, because I'm gonna come out with as many options as I have to. That's what my job is. My responsibility is to have a backbone and to not back down and to use that creativity and imagination that I have and make something happen. So that's my 3 choices. But first one is to renegotiate and not build. Second one is give me an extension till I can build. And the third and the big one, that will be, a hell of an undertaking, would be to build.
So,
But I just wanted to see if y'all
no,
had any
I
other,
get what you're saying,
any other
although,
choices.
I would say that we're kind of at a disadvantage, because we actually need them more than they need us, and so,
We're at a big disadvantage.
Right,
We got a
so
timeline
I guess
that we didn't set.
my vote would be that we would go in trying to negotiate for an extension to build our own, because this is gonna keep coming up. Even if we extend it next year,
Yeah.
he'll
But
probably say,
if I could get a
I quit
3-year
next year.
contract, right, if I could get a 3-year, if I paid the money and I could get a 3-year contract, I would be wiser getting a 3-year contract and giving us some breathing room. If I can. If I can't, well, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. No, we backed in a corner. Now we just figure out what we're gonna do.
I think we need to figure out a solution so the next council doesn't have to deal with this again,
Well, I hope so.
because this is gonna keep coming back.
I don't disagree with you, but it's,
We need a long-term solution.
we do, but we need a
We need a
stopgap
we
measure
do.
first.
We do, we need that, and then we need a long-term
And look, if I
solution.
called some people tomorrow and they said I could take your dogs, that'd be great. The pressure would be off. I don't know I'm gonna try, but I don't know that that's gonna happen.
But even with that,
Oh, yes.
we would say that would be a temporary solution.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I agree. And I just got a text from the governor's office. I will have to go to GOSEP. I'm gonna have to talk to GOSEP, and then I'm gonna have to probably run I know I'm switching on you for a second. I'll have to run the trailer request if we have one, through press,
Okay.
through emergency preparedness, but that's good. Anyway, back to this. So, we're pretty clear. Is there anything else y'all wanna add?
Obviously, our next meeting is January 17th, so we probably need to. update-
January 3rd.
January 3rd. Oh, we'll be talking about it on
We're
January
gonna
3rd.
be
Oh,
on
yeah.
the 3rd, because the 28th is gonna be here before we know it.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
that. Believe me, I know it.
So do we advertise that we're looking for space for dogs right now? I mean,
No, because
I
it's
don't
not
know
gonna,
what to do.
it's not gonna meet the requirements. In other words, I'm not gonna go and do something, we're not gonna stick them in a warehouse somewhere. I mean, you
no,
can.
no, no. I mean, like for other shelters
Well, I'm
nearby, which
gonna
is,
make some calls and see. I don't
they're
think
always
you
so
advertise.
overloaded.
I don't think that's a Facebook thing. I think that I need to call the directors and talk to them and talk to the other governments and just see. I do think the answer's gonna be no, so we'll be right
Right.
back where we started from. But hey, one step at a time, you never know. Somebody tells me they got 10 spots, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're operating with 12 spots right now. We know that it's not sufficient and they're not picking up all the dogs, but, if I could get 10 or 12 spots to hold me over, I would do it.
Right.
But I kind of think I'll call the other governments and the shelters that I know of. There's not too many private shelters, Angel Paws is an exception, but there's not too many private shelters. So, we'll see.
Okay.
Anyway, thank y'all. And if y'all think of something, send it to me. All right. Council remarks. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope everyone stays safe and enjoys their time with their family and friends. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Well, man, I want to, offer my prayers to the families that were affected by the tornado. Thank everybody for their efforts, volunteer efforts. All of the Christmas drives that I, knew about this weekend went pretty well. Zion Hill and others, I don't know of all of them, went well. And Merry Christmas and safe holidays to everybody.
Thank you.
Wish everybody a nice, happy, Merry Christmas. Mr. Mayor, we talking about dogs. For the last 2 weekends, I've got 10 calls per weekend about new bars opening that nobody knows anything about.
Wow.
Nothing. The neighbors know about it. Mr. Dowboy just left, one of his nieces called me,
It's being
one of her
dealt with.
nieces.
It's
You know,
being-
but
it's being
that's
dealt with.
ridiculous, calling on the weekends.
Understand?
They're trying to look for them and they can't find them. At the old, on Thompson Street, and I just wonder where they're coming out the woodworks.
Yeah, well.
But I hope something's
they're
being done,
they're
Mr.
being-
John,
yes, sir.
Mr. Jimmy, at the old folks building,
Yep.
garage. Who the hell gonna go in there with neighbors all over the place? You gonna put a boom boom thing in there? You know, and I hear they having worse over there on Amador and Iberia or Weeks, whatever that is. So I don't know. We were talking about dogs. I'm having worse trouble with that.
I understand.
So if they could, anything can be
Our
done,
phone's ringing and we are dealing with it.
if you don't mind, sir.
Yes, sir. No,
'Cause
we
I
need
want
to.
a little peace and quiet too at Christmas.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just Merry Christmas to everyone. Like Marlo, I was able to attend a couple of families and help them out, and really humbling experience when, we did a family of 8 that their house burned, and they sent me the list, and it was sheets and socks and underclothes, just immaterial things. So, really, really humbling people that we helped out, and it was really a joy doing that. And also, got another one Thursday at St. Edward's Church, no, St. Edward's, Hall. Thursday afternoon, we're doing another one. Couple, Bobo, and Marcus and them are doing it.
That was today.
No, it's today.
It was today, yeah,
It's
today.
today.
They sent me it today. I knew it was today, they sent the
Couldn't
note.
go because it is.
Yeah.
We win.
Also, just look out for your neighbors. We got some cold weather coming. I know there's some shelters opening. If we need to help out, send the word out. But it's gonna be very cold, and we need to look out for our neighbors that are less fortunate. That'll be it. Merry Christmas.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and my heart goes out to my constituents who have been devastated by the tornado. Of course, Southport, Beaver Street, Copper Road, the hospital, all of that's in District 4. We took really the brunt of it in the city, and the city is doing what it can to help out. If you want to give donations, you're still collecting through
Yes.
tomorrow from 10 to 1 at the City Park Recreation Building, toiletries and new clothes, new toys, and food items also. So just know that we are here for you, those families that have been affected, and we're going to remain with you through this ordeal. Thank you, and have a Merry Christmas as much as you can.
Thank you.
Like everybody else, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I do want to make two quick announcements. One is that we're going to have a home buyer meeting on February 2nd at the Slyman Theater at 5 o'clock in the evening. And we're targeting people who may think that they don't have enough income to buy their own home. The Louisiana Housing Corporation is going to come out, and they're going to talk to the residents about some programs they have for what they consider low or very low income residents. I'm hoping that we get a lot of people come out because this is our way of rebuilding our communities. If we can get people to start buying and building houses in the community, we can rebuild them and, make them nicer communities. So you don't have to worry about having all those vacant lots around you. Second thing is I want to thank everybody who donated bikes to Anderson Street School, including Councilman Lewis, Ashley Orff, Lacey Prio. And Mr. Prio was so nice because I was in Walmart buying a bike, and he asked me, he said, someone's going to have a really nice Christmas, and I told him I was donating the bike. And he said, well, who are you donating it to? And I told him, he said, well, I'm going to buy one too. So he literally went back, bought a bike, and gave it to me to give to the kids. And they gave them out at their Christmas program. From what I hear, the kids were super surprised about it and very excited to win a bike. I mean, they were just really surprised. We also bought locks for all the bikes, so, make sure that the kids can hold on to them. I just want to, let everybody know that it's been a long year. Hopefully you guys feel like we're doing a great job at the city. But if you have any feedback, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and just keep all our prayers together and build them up for the ones that were really devastated this past week. So, thank you.
Thank you. Same for me, of course. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. It's that time of the year. I got a few business things. Next meeting is January the 3rd. At our next meeting, we have a public hearing regarding the closure of Deer Street Railroad Crossing. That's a requirement. So that will be held at our next council meeting. I want to bring that up. Again, I just want to thank every one of our first responders. I was out there and saw it firsthand, and watching our people work, everybody who showed up, was humbling. And working with the 23 families that have losses, Hillary's done a great job of getting it all coordinated. Thank y'all for doing the drive. I think it's great. Those people will come on Thursday. We actually are calling them now and finding out what they need and trying to fill the gap of some of the things that they might need before Thursday. And then they'll be coming to Sear Gates to pick up Thursday. So,
Can you let us know, can you send us that list of the needs?
Sure.
Maybe so that we can help
sure, no, I
out?
can. And people have been donating. I was there yesterday. I was there today once. Then Hillary went back again. And things are trickling in. I mean, we started it a little, only 2 days after, but still, but things are trickling in. But yeah, I can get her to email y'all a list because there are still some gaps with some stuff. But again, happy holidays and been a long one. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank y'all.